Remember last week, I told you, I said a couple times on the show, hey, this episode could be called this or that, because while I understand, I'm going to take this side of it. And last week, I was really like on the positive side of things. I'm taking that side on this week's episode. This is SummerSlam week. Getting in August already. This year is flying. 2026 is out of here before it felt like it even began. But this will be the 39th SummerSlam. We've already had 38 of those things, and I've been watching long enough to have seen all of them, which is crazy. The first one was on August 29th, 1988. So they're going to hit 40 years next year of SummerSlam. A lot of perception among wrestling fans is like, this is their WrestleMania. Like you're a hardcore wrestling fan. This is the show they look forward to every year, the way the majority do WrestleMania. It's like WrestleMania without the crazy, back in the day, celebrity involvement. Who knows now with TKO being involved and where WWE is, but it was like that, right? So you still had these massive matches, but it was like the matches you wish you would have gotten at WrestleMania, but you didn't get at WrestleMania. I don't know if I really believe the whole thing of the real wrestling fans WrestleMania, but I know that is absolutely a thing out there. But for you, a question I've never asked you about SummerSlam, and we've been together for almost 20 of those events, is what does SummerSlam mean to your personal wrestling fandom?
I don't want to sound like sad or anything, but SummerSlam, it means a lot. It kind of means like the end of the summer. So although it's kind of the last hurrah of wrestling before they kind of go quiet until Survivor Series and things pick back up, at that time for Armageddon and for the Royal Rumble coming up, many years ago. But then later, so the more recent years is more of the end of the summertime. So that means like staying up late on a school night, that kind of got to go away. So it's kind of sad. So I know a lot of times they'll always talk about it's the grandest party of the last grandest party of the summer. And I guess I can kind of see that, but like deep down inside, it's kind of like sad. But I like football, so then it kind of brings me into that too. But it actually kind of is a sad thing. As far as the show itself, I usually feel like it's kind of a hit or miss. But for sure, I could see why people consider it as like second WrestleMania, mainly for the wrestlers. But I just think that it's like the final party of the summer, and the summer is about to be over. So now the hot weather is about to be cold, and now we're about to go on the quiet time for professional wrestling. Did I answer your question?
Got you. Yeah, sure. I mean, because there's no right or wrong answer. It's what your fandom is. So if you want to spend 95% of talking about how SummerSlam is depressing, go right ahead. I'm fine with that. Mine's is a lot more happy. And mine's is connected to summer. But remember, when I kind of teed it up, I said that for me, I've seen all of them, right? I've been watching wrestling for all of them, like in real time. So I was watching back in 88. But mine's a little bit different for the summertime. It was the excitement of going to school. And typically school started right around August 24th, August 23rd for me back in the day. So SummerSlam was always like a week into school starting. And there were a lot of wrestling fans, of course, as kids. So that's something that you immediately had to talk about. Like first day of school, second day of school, like what SummerSlam is going to be like. So that was for me, which was awesome. And then once again, remember back in the day, you had 4 big shows and that was it for WWE. You had Rumble, you had Mania, you had SummerSlam, you had Survivor Series. So this was also the one of 4 massive shows that we get. And you also got Saturday Night's Main Event too. You got excited for that, but that was once every quarter, so that was one, 4 times a year. So those are my connections for like outside of like wrestling, but in terms of like what it means from a wrestling perspective, for me, it always was a situation of, okay, where are we going heading into the Rumble? And now because they have so much content, that ain't a thing. Somebody can win the title now at SummerSlam and then drop it the next week on TV or the next Saturday Night's Main Event or next PLE. So that's no longer a thing anymore. But for me nowadays, I would say SummerSlam is still a top 2, top 3 event on everybody's list. And at one point, Money in the Bank was creeping up there. But I think you have Mania, you have Rumble, you got SummerSlam. Like, those are your top 3. And then you can go 4 if you want to do War Games. That's not mine's. Money in the Bank probably would be for me at this point if they don't have like an Evolution or something like that. But it's one of those things for a wrestling fan. If you've been watching for a long time, it is one of those events that you walk into with high expectations. And bell to bell, match quality, I have high expectations for this weekend, for the show.
And we're going to preview it later on, but we have like a lot of matches. Now, again, because it's 2 nights, but we got a lot of matches. So a lot to be told.
The funny thing about you saying that is there's 12, I think, advertised. That is a normal AEW pay-per-view.
In one night.
Legit, know what I'm saying? Like, legit.
I know.
It's like, I think they run 11 or 12. So it's not really a lot when you say 2 nights.
I'm talking about for WWE.
Still not. They usually run 5. Remember, they ran 6 matches at the last PLE. Well, we got 6, but we were getting 5 every time. So 6 is, for me, it's kind of like, and we'll get to it, but there are some people who are glaringly missing off of SummerSlam. But let's intro the show, and I'm going to start with positivity when we start this show. Because remember last week, I said a couple times on the show, hey, this episode could be called this or that. Because while I understand, I'm going to take this side of it. And last week, I was really like on the positive side of things. I'm taking that side on this week's episode.
No. Wait, hold on, time out. You confused me there. You confused me. So you going to go positive today? Or the opposite of positive?
Be forewarned. We're going to have a great time on this show. We're gonna have a great time. But last week was this, and that was positive for me. This week is that.
Oh, shit.
And we are heading to SummerSlam. Bags are packed. We will be heading out in a couple days. I am still sold on SummerSlam, but this is that.
You should have given me a heads up, because I was about to go on that approach then. So both of us can't be like that today.
Yeah,
both of us can't be
we're still
like
gonna have a good time.
Trash.
We're gonna have a great time. We're gonna have a great time. But I'm thinking that for the majority
I don't give a shit about that.
of this show, that may be a theme. We may hit the mark of how many times we hit that drop in one episode. Or maybe not.
From the drop or from the actual source? Or both? I don't give a shit about that.
I'm locked in. Episode 264 of the TFW podcast. That's Freakin' Wrestling. I'm your favorite talker out in these wrestling streets, Matt.
And I am Rhodesia, a.k.a. Rhodesia, better known as Rap.
Almost.
Better than last time.
We're getting close. That time you took a 3-second pause for some reason. Not sure why you did that.
3-second pause.
Yeah, you sure did. You took a 3-second pause. And then, but you're getting better.
I guess you can't count.
I figured by like episode 290, you'll have the intro down.
I think so. Yeah. I think I'm gonna be intro in the pod just all together.
Hell yeah, about time.
Not right now though. So continue.
Okay. Shout out to
heart rate went instantly to 160.
Freaks. Hey, look, new freaks. All freaks. Shout out to y'all, man. Appreciate y'all. Y'all see Rhodesia and her ridiculousness already on this episode. Said her blood pressure shot up. If you like what we're doing, man, y'all know what to do. Kindly hit that follow button, hit that like button, comment, do all that. All that stuff does tremendously help us get our show out to the masses. So if you guys are enjoying what we're doing, hey, rock out with it. Like it, comment, all that stuff helps us out a lot. So I say we're going to start positive. We're starting with Unreal Season 3. I can't even start with regular TV. Now, once again, if we weren't, heavily WWE centric, we would start with Redemption, AEW. So we'll hit that at the end of the show. I do have probably more positive than negative on Redemption, But we're going to start with negative on Redemption. I'm looking at you, Nick Jackson. I'm looking at you. But before we get there, so we've given everybody about almost 2 weeks now, right? Or like a week and a half, I guess.
Or maybe really a week. Week and a half.
Yeah, no, like a week. It came out last Tuesday. We're recording this on Tuesday, I believe. We are going to Dynamite tomorrow.
If we're doing your 3-second math, it's been 2 weeks.
Whatever, man. We're going to Dynamite tomorrow. So we got Dynamite on Wednesday in Detroit. Going to see Spider-Man Thursday night. Excited for that.
It's amazing.
It's already got 93% Rotten Tomatoes. I've said Spider-Man 2 is one of the best superhero movies of all time, and this is tied on Rotten Tomatoes for the highest live-action Spider-Man movie in history. So I am all about that. And then we leave out early Friday morning for Minnesota. So you guys are getting this pod, I'm sure, on Wednesday. But let's talk about Unreal. And this is one of those starting positive. Okay, there was 5 episodes, and we could do an entire pod. Really, we could do an entire pod for each episode if we really wanted to get in the weeds. We can do an entire pod about the season. But my number one prevailing feel about this season of Unreal, and just probably wrestling in general, is, man, I just love this shit so much. I do, right? Like, I love it all. I love the backstage stuff as much as I do the in-ring. Seeing it all together, I think, is incredible. And there was a lot that you can complain about, but if your main takeaway was not that they love this shit too, the way we love it, if that's not your main takeaway, I don't care about Michael Hayes. I don't care your thoughts about Bruce Pritchard. I don't care your thoughts about anything else that may have presented. I don't care your thoughts of, what Unreal is scripted. Okay, so is the in-ring action, and we love the in-ring action to death. So even that, I don't care too much about. They're going to show us what they want us to see, but I'll tell you what you can't fake, because you can't fake those tears. You can't fake the raw emotion from the wrestlers. You can't fake the injuries from the wrestlers. You can't fake human connection that you see and feel when you watch that show with these wrestlers. If that ain't your number one thought, it's just like, yo, they love this shit. I'm good on you, probably. Stay the fuck from around me, please, because I ain't got time for the negativity. But that was like my prevailing thought for me personally, was just, yo, man, like, I love this. This is, and it's just everything about it. It's not even just that show. The show, I think, is produced very well, of course. But when you look at everything that they show us, and I think they did a great job of this season of kind of having numerous storylines, right? We had the John Cena retirement. We had WrestleMania. We had Seth's injury. We had Liv Morgan. What else did we have?
Punk.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That was massive, of course, with Larry the Dog. It was a lot. It was just a whole lot. But overall, like, what was your thoughts about Unreal Season 3? And was there anything, and I'm holding on to the Bron Breakker piece. Holding on to it. Was there anything that really shouted out to you from this season?
Yeah, Bron Breakker was my number 3, but there's 3 things. First one was just truly, these are humans playing these characters. These are humans that are emotional, hype, anxious, all of the emotions that humans experience, they are humans. And that is just so, like you said, so powerful to watch, because they actually love wrestling more than we do, because they're actually doing it. They're actually putting their body through it. But it's something so beautiful about seeing someone wanting to give their all and being in the pain. And it was a time where AJ had made a comment saying, I'm still damn good at this. And like, of course, I probably don't necessarily want to see AJ, for the next 3, 4, 5 years. I'm not saying all that, but I felt her when she said that. And that's something that, like you said, it may be scripted, but they can't capture that and how she felt, and for me to feel how she felt. So number one would be, again, that these are humans doing it too. So yes, they're these big superstars, super pro wrestling stars, sure. But at the end of the day, they're still humans with their own emotions as well. Number 2 was completely, I don't know another way to say this word, but whitewash John Cena's final year. I know you had mentioned this a couple of episodes ago. I can't wait to see how they're going to completely change this John Cena history. And they did, because I loved it. And the whole time they talked about that with John Cena last year. I loved it. But again, they even talked about how this is 3 years in the making, which that wasn't the first time I heard about it, 3 or 4 years in the making. I've heard that too quite some time ago. But that was kind of the two big ones, and then the Bron Breakker. But these are humans doing something that they're passionate about, and we have the ability to watch them do this. I think when Unreal first came out, I kind of was on the fence, but I leaned more toward I like this content because, of course, we don't want, I mean, that's something that's been so sacred for so long, keeping it secret, keeping the side of it not to the non-wrestling wrestlers. But now being 3 seasons in, it actually just makes me grow to love these characters, these humans, even more.
Cena, I loved hearing, of course, him talk about his mentality surrounding retiring. That was great. But brother still doesn't understand why people shit on the retirement match with Gunther. It's like, oh, you still don't get it. I got up. That's the only time I got up the whole season and stormed off. I stomped away like a bad little kid. You still don't get it, Cena. I think you was left watching the episode by yourself. But yeah, I mean, but no, like, so I took a couple, just like put notes down when we were watching. Nothing really, like I just kind of wanted to keep tabs on what we were looking at. Episode 1 was around actually Cena's mentality on retiring, introduction to Bron Breakker, AJ Lee's return, which I got a little emotional watching. Not from, I wasn't crying or anything like that, but like it really hit me because one, it goes back to, man, I'm such a fan of this shit. I remember AJ Lee leaving and the reasonings and the situations behind her leaving, and then Punk, walking out and then getting fired on their wedding day back then, and us as fans thinking, oh, that's a wrap. We never going to see AJ or CM Punk again. And knowing what AJ stood for back then, and she talked about it, I believe, in Unreal, like, I am out here doing what no one else is doing in regards to, I'm not a diva. I want to wrestle. So I know I'm different already. I'm a little quirky. I know what all this comes with, but I'm going to do it anyway because there's people who I want to give motivation to and somebody to look up to, things of that nature. I love that, but my emotional part came from outside of, like, I remember this and I love this, is that show we were at, and that was our last wrestling show we went to in Chicago. And we already knew what our plan was at that time. We hadn't announced to anybody. We hadn't, told our jobs about it or anything like that. But at that time, we knew we were leaving Chicago and we knew what our plan was in terms of moving to Spain. So watching that, of course, took me right back to going to that show and making sure I was at that show, because I'm like, we've had an incredible time in Chicago, especially from a wrestling perspective. With the advent of AEW, they ran, yeah, man, they ran Chicago, of course, multiple times a year. And if you've never been to a show in Chicago, some of the best fans you will ever come across in terms of rockets, in terms of noise they make, being smart. So that was just a really big thing for us. I'm like, we got to go to this show. I know AJ's coming back because we got tickets that week of, and we knew it would be the last time we see John Cena in Chicago, maybe ever, even though we went to Mania, but that was also where he debuted at on SmackDown. I'm like, there's no way we can miss this. And so that took me kind of back to that moment watching that episode. But was there anything from the AJ Lee return that you saw on Unreal that either took you back to that time, or were you even an AJ? Was AJ around? AJ was around, right?
Yeah, she was around, and was I a fan of hers? I thought I liked her. I was a little bit indifferent because my feminist roots has been around for a long time, so I kind of had the whole why she had to be a crazy person kind of gimmick just to be able to be a star. But whatever, I don't want to even go down that road because that's not what the question you asked me. But I liked AJ. I thought she was a little tomboy, and I was a tomboy growing up, so I connected to her in that sense. Short person, someone who was smaller in stature before. That's something that connected to me. So to be able to see her wrestle like that, and again, although she was a Divas champion, she wasn't a diva. And at that time, yeah, we always heard the word diva, but now being removed from that time, it's a much different style of wrestling. So she kind of, maybe we didn't give her props, or maybe I didn't give her props like I probably should have, with the new role of the women coming in, the 4 horsewomen, that you had somebody like a AJ Styles. Maybe because I give it to like Beth Phoenix and such, but she was still kind of a diva in a sense. But for AJ's time, when she came back, I thought that it was really amazing because, one, she looked the exact same after all these years. And then the part of Unreal, which I love the most, and just like how quick and emotionally driven someone can be going through. She signed her contract. Now, again, is that real or not? I don't know. But I do remember hearing that she didn't sign her contract until that night.
When Punk came back to Survivor Series, he didn't sign his contract until like 15, 20 minutes before he went out there.
So that's emotional AF, because now you have to deal with the thing of, okay, if there's something in this that, yeah, my lawyers went over it, your lawyers went over it, but what if it's just something I see? Do I just stop and now everything is counting on me showing up? I mean, there's a lot of emotions around it. And then for her to get that back, man, I was super happy when I saw that. And she even mentioned that in it, that she's going to be getting paid like some of these guys. And for her to be able to reap the benefits, and she mentioned it in Unreal, for her to reap the benefits of some of the seeds she planted 15 years ago, that's really amazing. Really amazing. So for me, that was probably another part of the Unreal series, for her in particular, the storyline that I followed the most.
Even her talking about before she went to go through that curtain, like, I'm not feeling it yet. And not from a perspective of, I don't want to do this, or, man, is wrestling even my thing anymore? No, she's talking about, I got to find that AJ Lee character before I hit the curtain. And when that music hit, she went out there, boom, it's on it. It's on it. And that's, some of the things that I really just enjoy just about professional wrestling is, right, because these people are playing characters, and you got to be, we talk about all the time being locked in. I don't have much from, this week's TV, but I'm a damn sure shout out Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn was locked the fuck in, and we're going to talk about him after we get to Unreal. But that's what you appreciate even more, because it's a performance, right? This is still a performance. And even perfect segue to episode 2. Episode 2 was really centered around CM Punk and John Cena, their last match internationally. And they showed how Punk did the word life gimmick, and Cena talking about, like, he's got a lot of material. Like, I would go out there and do like 3 lines, 3 rhymes, and that was it. But he's like, he had like almost a whole promo. And I'm like, I hope he doesn't forget it. And he's like, he went out there and nailed it. But my biggest takeaway, of course, which probably was everybody's takeaway, and I've talked about last week, I said, CM Punk, his stuff just feels different than anybody else's. And I said, the real he brings to anything he does on WWE TV, on AEW TV. And this one in particular was the SmackDown before. He's doing his promo thing. He walks up to John Cena in the ring and he says, I'm going to miss you. And Cena teared up and said, that was a moment between us. I needed that. That was special. CM Punk's response to why he did that was, he said, because I needed to center him in that moment. Meaning, one, I need you to understand what you mean to me. This is great. But I see you are not fully in where I want you to be right now. Even if that is you break for a second. This is our last promo battle in the ring together. And our careers was at the same time. Either you were a Punk guy or you were a Cena guy. Kind of like right now, it's like, are you a Roman guy or are you a Cody guy? Like back in the day, are you a Macho Man guy or are you a Hogan guy? Or, maybe even Hogan and Flair was probably the closer thing with that. But this is what this is. Hey, here, right? I don't need you thinking about your next line. I don't need you thinking about the physicality at the end of this. Here. And then you see Cena take that moment in, and he almost lost it in the ring. And he lost it talking about it. But boy, like, how great was that? How great was that? So you had that on episode 2. What else did we have? Bron turning on Seth. I thought that was tremendous. And I don't even, when should we talk about Bron Breakker? Should we just wait until?
We do it at the end. We just wait to the end.
All right.
Yeah.
Got it. And if you guys didn't see it or you saw it, that was when Seth's shoulder is fucked. He does the move against Cody. He's got to go out. He's got to have surgery. Bron, we need you to spear Seth and turn on him. Now, Bron had already talked about how, like, yo, Seth has been great. He's been instrumental in helping me. I love this guy. So he's in a perspective where he feels like I have to go spear this guy. And Seth tells him, dude, you better lay that shit in. Like, this is important. You know, if you don't, everything we've worked for is for shit. And I think Heyman even said, like, what did he say? He said, go out there. He didn't say and make the money. I don't know if he said, we're counting on you. I forgot what he said, but whatever he said, it was like, you got to go hunt. Go out there and go do it. Lay it in. So then we got to see that. And then I love that we got to see the aftermath of that. And of course, Bron was sorry. And Seth's like, hey, you know, no, it was great. You had to do what you had to do. And then we had Liv's return and we had Cena's last match. I think they talked about. Anything from episode 2 you want to give your thoughts on?
Nah, I mean, no, because I think I jumped the gun and kind of talked about all of that from your first episode breakdown.
Episode 3 was the Rumble. We had Obafemi and then we had Trick and Lash. Love that. I love that episode too. From that, it's always cool to see the Rumble kind of behind the scenes shows, whatever that looks like. I think my biggest takeaway was just how in awe the front office is of Obafemi. And it was either Bruce or it was Michael Hayes. And I've heard this before. I heard it from Heyman during the Mania lead up to him and Brock. And he just talked about, like, he's a grown man. You know, he act like he's been here before. And I think, you know, H even said, like, what is he, 23, 24? I think he's right around that age, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe even 26. But, he's low to mid-20s. And just the way he carries himself. Like, the way he was talking and he comes back from the Rumble and he just, how was it? You know, and H is like, don't worry, I'm going to coach shit out you. Like, you ain't got to worry about it. If you did something wrong, I'm going to tell you. And Oba was like, just bring it on. You know, it was funny. Of course, Triple H gets a lot of shit. Probably, maybe as he should, maybe as he shouldn't.
Let me say rightfully so, probably.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
But heavy is the head that wears a crown. So I don't have like maybe a lot of empathy for that. Yes, he'll get the shit because he's gonna get the praise, just like a quarterback.
Sure. But you could tell there's some other things going on. I just personally don't believe you can go from giving us the great TV we got the first 18 months of his run to what we've kind of gotten the last 18 months. Something is significantly different in terms of creative. And I know, of course, TKO has popped their heads in at times. I know there's other things they have to, do in terms of, hey, we got to solve for this. We got to do this. We got to serve this master. We got to serve that master. We're not here to have that conversation. But when I say, I don't know if it's rightfully so or not, we still saw a ton of talent go to him after their matches, whatever that looks like. We still see him coaching in real time. But I loved seeing the contrast of at the Rumble, Oba had a career night, was in there for a while, tossing people. That story outside of Roman winning was about Obafemi and his first Royal Rumble and what that looked like. He comes back to ask Triple H, hey, was everything good? Triple H says, hey, you killed him, man. Hey, just let me know. I just want to make sure I get better. Then you fast forward to WrestleMania. And before Oba's match, they're rehearsing his entrance, and Triple H just stops him and just looks at him for a couple of seconds and said, enjoy this. Take the time when you get out there before you get into your shit to be present and be real. You only going to get your first ever one time. You want to remember it. You want to feel it, because that was what he needed to hear in that moment. Right. So for me, it was cool to see at the Rumble is, hey, what can I do better? What can I do better? And then that same coach telling you at the biggest game of the year, your Super Bowl, your NBA Finals, your World Cup, right? I know how you get. Enjoy this, though. Enjoy it for a second before you get to your shit. I know you're going to go out there and we're going to do business. It's going to be great. Before you get to that, though, mentally, just make sure you're here. Make sure your feet is grounded before you take off on the rocket. And I thought that was just, once again, you see why people enjoy working for Triple H, and he has his detractors too. But because I've been around management and coaching, I've been that. I know what a good one looks like when you're talking about active with people, that people connection. And that was what I felt that was it. So I loved it.
Same here. I was just going to echo that sentiment as far as we talk about this a lot on our show, just of good leaders. And one, knowing this is like such the biggest stage for Oba and what he's about to do too. So let's forget what he did at WrestleMania, which I didn't think he would have did in a million years at his first WrestleMania. But then to have your head boss tell you, just relax for a second. You understand how big this stage is right now, but just he gave him that grace. He gave him the opening to just be able to breathe and relax. And it makes me think about some of the other great leaders and personality management, however you even want to call it. Like, I know what he's going to do. I know maybe he's going to get in his head. Maybe he's not. We know that he's going to try to be perfect. But no. I'm going to give you this pass real quick. You're hearing it from me. Just relax. Enjoy it. And you hear from a lot of the in sports, a lot of the coaches. I just told my guys, just remember what you're doing. You're playing the sport that you've always loved. Go out and have fun. And so just to hear those kind of things in real time, or as far as how it looked for him in real time, it's just really good to see that there are really some really good leaders that's still out there. So I'm going to give Triple H his props and his praises for that, because not in a lot of places where you have someone super high up in that totem pole that's going to talk to you again like a human, like a mid to low 20-year-old human, and you 55 years old knowing how to communicate with him and how to calm them down. I'm going to give him props for that. So that was really, really incredible to see too.
And we know, Vince, for a lot of talent back in the day, people looked at him like a father figure. Anybody who was close to Vince all said that. I looked at him like a second father. I looked at him as the father I never had. I looked at us as having a father-son relationship. You hear that all the time. I'm sure Tony is a fantastic boss. We've heard that a lot too, that Tony is a fantastic boss. So this isn't just, of course, about Triple H, but in order to get to where you need to get to, you have to be. Because the talent is who's doing the work on the back end. Yeah, maybe you have the foresight and maybe it's your vision and all that, but it's got to be implemented. It's got to be implemented. And, Triple H did the same thing with Orton right before Orton goes out for Mania. This is Randy Orton, 14, 15-time world champion who's been there almost longer than anybody. And Triple H sees that, okay, he's in his head a little bit. And he goes up to him, dude, you're Randy fucking Orton, man. Go out there. Have fun.
He tried to whisper in his ear, but he saw the cameras was looking.
Yeah. But and then you see Randy come down right after that. And he just said, thanks, man. Yeah, thanks. Right? He knows this. But if you don't have somebody there a lot of times to just pat you on your back or tell you, hey, you're doing a good job, that can get lost. And that is absolutely in real life. That's why it's always great to have that cheerleader that you can have. But I thought that was great. Episode 4 was really centered around the Chamber and Larry passing away. And just seeing Punk just be absolutely distraught. Punk, when he was gone for those 3 months after Mania, he talked about, one, that was his first time he's ever had time off of work for that long, and he wasn't nursing an injury. He just needed time off. And I guess he said he lost like 3 people really close to him, from October to April. Of course, he lost Larry, and we saw just what Larry was to them as a couple with AJ and Punk. So it was cool to see kind of that side of him, talking about something that, he loves. And then AJ being the contrast, saying how different they are in terms of emotional and things of that nature, that he's actually the softer one. And, she's the one that, puts on that face and she bears what she needs to bear. But that was episode 4. Then episode 5 was WrestleMania. It was, return then of Liv winning the championship at WrestleMania. I love the Cody Rhodes and Orton stuff. That was great to see. Of course, Cody is a professional wrestler and saying like, yeah, I'm going to take that kick, right? Like, whatever, man. Like, if my eyes crack, my eyes crack. This is WrestleMania. Like, we need to show people this is real. Of course, that's what we all love about Cody. When you talk about like behind the scenes. But probably my biggest takeaway from episode 5 was Stephanie McCure. And what she said, I think it was after the match, where she basically just said, like, my body needs a break. My body's been telling me for a while that I need to slow down. And then she talked about, I've been doing this for X amount of years or decades, and I've never had a break. And I think it's time for me to, take a break. And then she made a comment that is so interesting to me a little bit, because you look at these performers and their bodies are incredible. External. Kyle Fletcher from AEW said this same thing just a couple weeks ago. I was telling Rhodesia he passed out backstage after one of his matches, and they didn't know what it was, and it was his body just kind of gave out on him. And his response was lesson learned. It was an anxiety, it was stress. I wasn't eating and treating my body properly. And Stephanie said the same thing about her body. She said, I haven't been the best to my body. Stephanie Vaquer externally has one of the best looking bodies we've ever seen. You would not look at her and think to yourself, she's not doing what she needs to do to be healthy. But if it's coming from pain, she even made a comment like, if I was to put makeup on every injury, I probably would never stop like every part of my body. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we know that about wrestling, right? We know you're falling down for a living. Like legit. If you've never been in the ring, yes, it's softer than concrete, but not much more. It's not much more than that. Right? And you're doing it, and that is your job, is to fall down as many times that you're going to work in your lifetime. So we know their bodies get beat up like that. But I just thought that was kind of eye-opening too, because during Mania after that, we heard the match was only 5 minutes because both women were nursing injuries and they wanted to get them out without more harm. And then remember, I put a kibosh to that because I'm like, well, that ain't right, because Liv worked 15 minutes, I think, against Soul Ruca on Raw the next night. So we knew it was about Stephanie. But to hear it from her, it's like, wow. So hopefully, I don't know how or where, I'm hoping for some returns this weekend. I'm hoping Stephanie Vaquer is one of them. She's missed in the women's division right now. But of course, I know her priority is health. But she's had now 4 or 5 months. You would hope that's enough time that she's re-energized and she's ready to get back to it.
The Stephanie one was really powerful to me because, like, in one of the first few episodes, maybe the first one, she had talked about her journey to professional wrestling and how she had to leave Chile to come up to Mexico to wrestle. And in her first month of wrestling, she breaks her eye. I think she breaks her face, somewhere on her face, she breaks a bone in her face. And like, she really didn't have any money and she just became a waitress. Then she found a way to make it over to Japan. So again, just to kind of hear these stories back to even Kyle, I don't think you touched on that part. Yeah, he talked about he's been on the press conference after Redemption. He talked about, I think that was it, that he's been doing this since he was 14. And that he traveled to the UK after leaving Australia at 14, living in a house with 6 other guys, and just this journey of being broke and but rich in your passion, and that passion being professional wrestling. So then you fast forward to the end of Unreal, and then you see Stephanie saying that she needs to take a break. And probably the most powerful part of all of it that I heard her say, she said, I've been going really hard on my body for the last 10 years. So that just tells me she's been going harder than that. She just means over these last 10 years, it's been very hard on her body. And you just like, at a point, I am surprised her body hasn't broken before now. Like, our bodies are truly resilient. I always say these wrestlers are crazy in here because they constantly do this because of that passion that they have. But beautiful for them that they have something that they can strive for, because now their life feels more meaningful probably than those who just go and be complacent in their whole life. But that, to me, from the end of that final episode, was Stephanie saying the 10-year thing was like, damn.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Mm-hmm. So well worth your time. Of course, we kind of ran through it. Hopefully, if anybody hadn't seen it yet, I didn't spoil enough to where you don't want to see it anymore. If you have seen it, you appreciate and enjoy having that conversation. But I would love to hear, of course, anybody who watched it, just give me your thoughts on it. Anything that stuck out to you, that would be fun to hear. So that's the positives.
One other thing.
Okay, before we get to Bron?
Yeah, one other thing. Professional wrestlers who watch and listen to the show. We will always remember you. So take that whole theory of, are they going to remember who I am? Yeah, there might be a segment of people who just don't remember who the people are. Okay. But in general, I saw you a year ago. I saw you 2 years ago. Yes, we know WWE has changed quite a bit. But that core base of fans, we're still going to remember you. So if that's one more anxiety you have to take off your plate while you're rehabbing your injury, don't worry about it.
Well, easy to say, evidently.
Sure, because they all say it.
It continues to be a thing. And in this episode, perfect segue, Bron Breakker. We heard him say it right before he comes back to spear Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Is definitely a pattern there. He says before he gets emotional, or actually afterwards, before he said, I hope they remember me. Then he gets emotional afterwards, just saying how hard it was to get back to that point. Now that man was only out for what, 6 weeks, 7 weeks?
Yeah. Yep.
Something like that. You can see the type of person Bron Breakker is, personally.
Yep.
And it's interesting because I remember when he was out, Heyman talked about how he talked to him every single day. And he said, just checked in on him. I would tell him I love him. And it was the interview where they were just following Heyman for like a day backstage. And Heyman was talking about how his relationship with Roman is different than his relationship with Brock. His relationship with Brock is different than his relationship with Bron Breakker. And yes, you got to have thick skin for sure. If you were just in the public eye, you got to have thick skin. You damn sure got to have thick skin to be a professional wrestler. We know that too. You probably got to have some sort of an ego also. If Bron Breakker is not now, if you aren't rooting for Bron Breakker after watching that season of Unreal, same thing, get away from me. Get from around me.
Seriously.
I can't do it. I can't do it. Because I don't know how you don't look at that as what a face turn that they aren't doing anything with, because he's not even on fucking SummerSlam. How does the guy that was penciled in to win the Royal Rumble, but then we pull back because we don't want to thrust him down the fans' throats, but I got to see fucking Danhausen for 36 segments for the last 3 weeks of WWE TV. And that's not a knock on Danhausen. Get that straight? I am so happy for Danhausen. I love Danhausen. I think he's great. I loved him when he was in AEW. Of course, I loved him before that. But don't talk to me about pushing people down throats when that has to happen. And yes, Danhausen is selling a lot of merch. I understand. Danhausen gets one of the biggest reactions. I understand. But if Bron Breakker was where he was positioned, guess what Bron Breakker would be doing? Selling a ton of merch. Same thing. Guess what else would be happening when Bron Breakker's music hits? Ton of reaction. So miss me with that. But he goes from not winning the Rumble to now not even being on SummerSlam. Bron Breakker, the person who you should be centering your company behind. Obafemi, Jacob Fatu, Bron Breakker. If you want to throw Trick Williams in there, throw Trick Williams in there. For one of those four, for a non-injury to not be on a major PLE for WWE, a top 2, arguably, stadium show, you've got to be kidding me. And then we watch Unreal, and time after time after time, they don't do what they need to do with him. And Bron even said, this is when he got emotional after his run-in spot at WrestleMania, where he says there's a lot of new guys coming in, and it just feels like, you know, like I'm not a part of that. Now, once again, you got to have thick skin. I understand that. But the frustration from it may not even be frustration for him. I wonder if it is bewilderment from Bron Breakker and what am I doing wrong?
I think it's that latter. I think it's like I'm trying as hard as I can. What else do I need to do? Like, what else is there that I'm missing out on, or what can I do better? Because I feel like I'm doing everything I possibly can. I come back from my injury probably in record time because I knew how important it was, how the vision was being established, and how I got to get to WrestleMania. What else can I do?
It's frustrating as hell. And I've been talking about this from day one. And you know this. I talked about this when he was in NXT. And I said, maybe they are just trying to see what all he can do before they bring him to the main roster. Can he do comedy? Can he do a little bit of gaga in the ring? Can he do hardcore? Can he do intense? Then he won Bear Corbin. They got that tag team over, and they were tag team champions. But I'm like, I don't know if Bron Breakker should be in that role. Somebody's listening to me is thinking with what they're seeing presented on television. Like, damn, why is Matt so on Bron Breakker every week? It seems like he's not that big of a deal. Yeah, he's great. We like to bark, and that's it. That's the problem.
Yep.
If you were to replace, and Oba is him, if you were to replace Bron Breakker with Oba Femi, meaning they flip-flop spots. At WrestleMania, you got Bron Breakker versus Brock Lesnar, and we go from WrestleMania to SummerSlam with the exact same creative. Guess what? Bron Breakker versus Brock Lesnar is just as big as Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar is. Now, if you fast forward after WrestleMania and you had Oba Femi in a group that is centered around Maxine Dupree and Austin Theory, tell me
Paul Heyman
he's
anymore,
going to be as over as Oba Femi is right now. He's not.
He's not.
It's impossible. He's not.
Yeah. And that's, again, not saying that one person is better than the other. We're not having that conversation.
Correct. And
we're
not
just
saying that you need to do that flip-flop.
Yeah.
It's presentation.
It is.
It's presentation. If they would have treated Bron Breakker, and I'm not saying they had to do this or they have to do this. They got to figure this out, though, with him. But if they were to bring him in like Goldberg and say it was that, right? Spear, and maybe that's it, right? And where the dog's at. I remember when there seems to be a lot of dogs in Insert City, and that got one of the biggest reactions every single week. I was there. I was there for that. But then, like, everything just halts. It is so frustrating. It is so fucking frustrating when Ruca loses her title on Monday Night Raw after doing nothing with it. And it's not her fault. And this, once again, ain't got nothing to do with Raquel. Congrats to Raquel. Put in a lot of time in. She's got a title. Ain't got nothing to do with Raquel. But
I'm pissed about
we
that.
have Becky Lynch once again putting over somebody that WWE doesn't do anything with. She puts over Ruca. We ain't seen Becky since, for the most part. And then you give Sol, I think, 1 defense, 2 defenses, and then she dropped it. And for me, she gave it away on her face. She didn't mean to. She didn't have the poo-poo face that some wrestlers get when they know they're going to lose. But when she came out, I was like, damn, she's dropping the title. It was how she looked. Now explain to me how somebody like Ruca, who was caught up after a great showcase on Saturday Night's Main Event, which was John Cena's retirement.
Yep.
Who had a spotlight in the Royal Rumble, who comes after WrestleMania, takes on Liv Morgan, and I talked about then, what are we doing with, like, Sol? She's had, like, 3 matches, and 2 out of 3 matches, she didn't hit her finish, and then EO show, like, in the first month how to counter it, and it was a lot of just good showings. Okay, and then, she beats Becky, and then she beats Becky for the IC title, and then kind of, like, crickets a little bit, and then that's it. I don't understand for the life of me. Was it that she didn't show something that y'all wanted to see? Then I would say then that's on y'all.
Pretty much.
Bruce Pritchard said something that had a lot of people on the internet upset in Unreal when he made a comment about, they were talking about Trick Williams, they were talking about Oba Femi, and he says, basically, like, we should pump the brakes kind of on what the expectations are. These kids are coming up, they're new, they're not going to get it fully all the way. Well, people took that and they ran with it. And I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm also not saying he's right. I'm saying both things can be true. We've seen sometimes, especially right now, no house shows. They're bringing them back a little bit now, slowly but surely. But now NXT is a viable money-making promotion to where it can no longer be what it was, which was the training grounds, the early,
Brandies,
right? It can't be that anymore because we need 52 weeks of year TV for the CW network. And we also need to now sell PLEs because we're taking those on the road. They've had for a while. But my point is, it's not the same when before it was straight developmental. You got to work some takeovers and show what you got. Then we call you up without calling you up first, and we put you on the road with Raw, with SmackDown for a couple months, have you work dark matches, see how you do with travels, et cetera, bing, bang, bang, all that kind of stuff. And it's like now everything is so fast from the call up to what the expectation is. They need time. I'm not saying that's what happened with Sol Ruca, but to have her drop that title a week before SummerSlam and that match not even be on SummerSlam, it's like,
I think you teed me up perfectly for the question I want to ask you about the young talent. But before we get there, Bron. And I would couple Soul in here too. But for Bron, he just looks so sad. He just looks so sad. And I don't know if it's something where they just don't see it in him anymore. Could it be the injury that maybe knocked some of his confidence off? Who knows? Is it just a bad booking? It doesn't seem like he's like it doesn't seem like he's a person who doesn't pay attention or doesn't try to pick up what somebody's dropping as far as development of character. It seems like he's dialed in to try to learn and get better. But you look at him, just looks like a really sad puppy dog. And I feel as if now, because I don't remember that comment about Pritchard saying the young talent thing, it makes me maybe feel that they might potentially lose out on who could have been the face of the company for the next 10 years to come. Just right now of how I feel. Soul. Let's get to Soul. 2 parts on that. The first one is I am so freaking upset with her dropping to Raquel. And last night when I was watching it, I was like, you know what? This is just some. We'll talk about Raw in a second, but this has just added more to my frustrations with Raw to begin with. You did such a terrible job in telling a story that you had her lose it before SummerSlam. Like, you couldn't have wrote that any better or booked that any better for her. So now somebody who probably can be a Soul fan, I just realized like, oh, in your go home throwaway show, because it felt like a throwaway show, that it didn't matter. So now her title reign, you treated her like crap when she first got here. Oh, but you put her on TV. So no, that's what should matter, right? She's getting exposure. Miss me with that. And then she drops it to Raquel. I was like, there's no way in hell that Raquel just won that match. I was like, that's like impossible. You telling me that you couldn't write any better for that? You mentioned it already. You could have, if that was going to happen, you could have just had her have a match with Raquel at SummerSlam and she could have won it then, if that was the case.
At least put her on SummerSlam. Right? And let's get a pay-per-view match. And the match is nothing to do with the match. Once again, it has nothing to do with Raquel.
It has nothing to do with Raquel either. No, my issue is with how they booking.
Yes, these young talents that you look at, and I'm not to say that I think or thought Sol Ruca was the next massive thing in women's wrestling.
But you could have done it better.
I think she can take that segment of Jeff Hardy fans that are there, Rob Van Dam fans that are there, old school fans. Now I'm talking. She brings something completely different in terms of how she wrestles and how she works. You bring her up. She is somebody who should have been a can't miss prospect. And I'm not saying they've completely missed, but when I look at these people should be your main folks for a very long time. I go Obafemi, of course. I go Trick Williams. I go Bron Breakker. I go Roxanne Perez. I go Sol Ruca. And have, if not less, have a match at SummerSlam, which is 2 nights. And they all have been on the main roster this year. It can't be this hard.
It really can't.
Use momentum and make some people. It can't be this hard. It can't be this hard that Carmelo Hayes continues to get the rug pulled out of him in his storylines, and he is also not on SummerSlam. This thing was set up perfectly for Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes at SummerSlam. I remember I came out and Brandon was like, hey, chill out, calm down until you watch how they did Trick and Carmelo on SmackDown, you may feel a little different. When I came out here, was like, yo, so the first match we get is on a random SmackDown and not a PLE. All right, you got it. Okay, cool, creative then. But that kind of also told me a little bit all I needed to know.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Right? We're not running Jacob Fatu and Bron Breakker a year ago on Raw before we get to the next big PLE. That's a PLE match. And that's the way I feel about Trick and Carmelo. And all the love in the world to TFW member Baron Corbin.
Right. Our first guest appearance.
All the love in the world for Baron. But for him to come in and in essence take Carmelo's spot, which Carmelo then lost out on his WrestleMania spot to Sami Zayn a week before, 2 weeks before WrestleMania, makes no sense to me. He's another one that you look at him and hype be damned, should be can't miss. That should be what your future is. And I'm so tired of, we can just heat people up anytime we want to. We can heat people up anytime we want to. That shit doesn't work. And now you're sitting around on the next round of releases talking about, I can't believe that person didn't get re-signed. It's frustrating to me. It's absolutely frustrating to me. But you talked about Raw. No, I mean you can go right into whatever else you had on Raw because we here now.
Okay. I still want to ask my question about this young talent. So I'll just I ask it here because I think it makes sense. And what I'm about to say might sound like a contradiction to what I've just been on for the last 5-10 minutes. And it's not, because my whole thing is this is all scripted. This is all a storyline. All we're saying is that you could just book them and present them looking better. Again, I didn't know that Pritchard made that comment in Unreal about the pumping the brakes on the young talent, but seeing it like with Maya World, it was Soul until Soul dropped it. Do you feel that for a young talent that they should, if you could only have it one way or the other, this or that, that you death by fire, you're going to put that green, I'm going to say young talent, a green talent out there with the championship? That is the only way that they do it? Or do they have to, kind of on the Mark Henry thing, work 10 years, no longer be green before they get their championship reign? Do you feel if the only one or the other, that they had to wait 10 years, and I say that loosely, to become champion?
Mm-hmm.
Or no, every time you're going to throw them out there, see if they sink or swim. Give them a championship reign. If you could only have it one way or the other, what would
Javon
you have?
Evans also doesn't have a match on SummerSlam.
All right, let's talk about Raw then. I came on here last week saying,
how does Javon Evans not have a high profile match on SummerSlam?
Clearly they're pumping the brakes on him.
It's not that hard to build momentum when somebody has it. Now, if you're talking from scratch,
has it already.
If you're talking from scratch, sure. But when you see who's over and who the crowd's responding to, and over, everybody's not over. So I take that back. On the just blanket term of over, yeah, everybody's kind of over a little bit, right? But we know what truly over is. Obafemi's truly over. Roman Reigns is over. CM Punk's over. You know, it's probably maybe 10 people in the entire company. Liv Morgan's over. Rhea Ripley's over. In terms of over, I don't even know if Trick Williams is over. If you really know what over is, right? Over is ticket seller, legit ticket seller, merch mover, almost kind of top. That's over. But your question about the titles, I know you said like it's one or the other, this or that. That's hard because the answer really is, what's the trajectory for this person? What do we see this person as? Now, you only get so many generational legit talents, right? Bianca Belair, Roman Reigns.
Obafemi.
Right? You only get a certain amount of those, so you can't dictate based off of that. So if the majority is, I think they're going to have a long, successful career. Okay, then we probably do.
Then there's no rush to it. Okay.
Right? Or
I just feel
say that. Well, if I wanted to argue, I could also say the opposite too. That just put the fire on them, put the title on them, because if it doesn't work, we can always just rebuild that person. Opposed to if this person is going to be that thing, you want to try to set them up as best as possible. But once again, that thing in WWE history was not that thing at some point. We can go all the way. We can start with Hogan, right? When he came in, he wasn't it. I mean, Vince Sr. fired him because he did Rocky. So he wasn't that when he first came in. Of course, Andre was, but I mean, why? How could you?
That's some historian stuff right there. I didn't know that.
Well,
actually, I don't really care about Hogan. So
close to being fired. Roman didn't work for years as a babyface.
Rhea,
same thing. That Gunther when they first came on, yeah. So that's kind of the opposite of what that was. But yeah, I mean, it is case by case. Seriously, like Maya World, I'm glad she got her opportunity. She deserves it, and I think, and she fits, right? She's not the main women's champion, TBS champion. Good story behind her right now. Momentum. That's one, right?
So you're rewarding the momentum.
I am sure, and I could be wrong. I am sure Creative 6 months ago was not Maya World is heading into All In as TBS Women's Champion.
Not on the bingo
I could be
card.
wrong. I don't think so.
Could be wrong. Yeah.
But for the talent I just named to not have a match, Roxanne Perez, and I know they would say, well, yeah, we're gonna wait until Judgment Day disbands. Man, fuck that. We're wasting time with these talents, especially when all bets are off now, like I talked about last week with these cuts.
Exactly.
And also,
exactly.
And also with these restructuring.
Yep. Because if you're going, it's not Triple H who's making that decision. So if you have something like a TKO saying, well, let's pull up Roxanne, let's see what her merchandise looks like. What is she? Of course they're going to cut her. Or of course they're going to have her restructure. And none of this is even her fault.
And, of course, and Triple H does have a say, right? So they're not just going to just look at the P&L sheet and just go from bottom and just, they got a say. But to that point, okay, so, yeah, I don't want to pick on Roxanne because it has nothing to do with her. So I'll just say Wrestler A. Yeah, Wrestler A is at TV every week, but Wrestler A is only wrestling 33% of matches. Wrestler A really doesn't kind of have a lot of merchandise. Wrestler A isn't much of a needle mover outside of autograph signings. Okay, then that person's expendable.
Yep.
Thank God for AEW. Thank God for TNA. Thank God for all these other promotions where the talent have somewhere to go. So it's not complete doom and gloom like it was before. But that's just the frustrating part. Monday Night Raw, such a frustrating show.
Yeah,
it was a tough watch.
It was
on Monday night.
It was. So I went on here and said the last one was video packaging because we was about to get to the shits, right? I gave them the pass. I said, you know what? Give me all the video packages that you can give me.
And remember,
right now.
So I told you it was not video packaging. Remember, you said
to me,
it wasn't.
It's to me. It's to me video packaging. That's what I'm going with. Very video packaging, right? Because again, you got to spoon feed your fans, right? I'm a spoon fed WWE fan. Sure. Boom. Then we go into talking about TKO. It felt like this last Raw was written, produced, multiple times throughout the show, but written and produced by TKO. Hey, what can we do to bring the most advertising and commercial-like spirit to, like, I was like, Vince is rolling over in his grave watching this show tonight. Outside of all the different script changes, sure, he might be getting off on that.
No, he was loving that show. He said this is such good shit.
No.
Ryan Garcia and Judgment Day against Dan Housen.
What? The whole
Money's on a
dance music
match.
break, the dance music break between Joe Hendry and Dan Housen, or not between them, but with them. Now, the song was catchy, but when it was over, I was catching myself humming it a couple times. But point is, I'm like, what the F am I watching right now? What am I watching on your go-home show to Raw?
Okay, good for you.
No, I didn't, but I said it was catchy.
Well,
but for real, like...
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to start just from the beginning of Monday Night Raw. And I said about 50 minutes ago, right, this is that episode. We still having a good time? Let's check in. Everybody having a great time? I'm having a great time. You having a great time, Rhodesia?
Not right now, because I'm thinking about Raw.
Okay, so hopefully you've turned that around. Hopefully everybody who's listening is having a great time too. We're just having a good time. Yeah, we're talking negative, but it's a great time. Great time had by all. I'm having more fun bitching and moaning than I did actually watching that show on Monday night. But you talked about what it felt like watching that show. I said when we're going to drop the Hell in a Cell down just so we can get the shot of Brock outside the cage and Obafemi inside the cage looking at each other. That was the entire point of that entire segment. I said, yo, there had to be a rewrite in this segment. Had to be a rewrite because it was announced as Triple H is going to mediate the weigh-in. Excuse me, it was a weigh-in segment
that Brock didn't even weigh in on.
And Triple H didn't do anything. So I'm watching, like, this has to be a rewrite because this isn't good. This isn't good at all. The most positive thing from this is that boy Oba has locked in his diet and his workouts. He looks damn near completely different from when he first kind of got on the main roster to right now. He looks incredible.
Yep.
And that's what I'm talking about, right? He knows what's at stake.
Because he knew he had to weigh in at 301.
I'm sure nobody said, hey, man, you need to work on your physique. When he came in and threw everybody out the Royal Rumble, was like, hey, man, we can put the rocket on you, but just tighten up that body. Sure, nobody ever said that. He looks tremendous. Shout out to him for continuing to put that work in right already at that young of age once again. But what a bad go-home segment for Oba and Brock. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. This is now the second time we've gotten Oba putting hands on cops. And he's the babyface. Right? Like, it was that
No, it's the first time. Because the first time they were fake. So these might be fake cops again, too.
So what, did they fake her this time?
They're more fakest.
They're more fake.
But like for real, I completely forgot about that. How do you have the cage? Well, at first, when I saw the Hell in a Cell, I was like, "Oh my God, they are really trying to sell these $10 seats at SummerSlam. They are trying their hardest at this point. Because why did you transport that Hell in a Cell there just for that? Okay, I'm fine, right? Hey, I'm benefiting from them trying to be creative.
Shot. That's why to get the shot that they got of Brock Lesnar.
So you could have booked that. You could have booked that or wrote that or scripted that way better than what it actually came out to be. So then
and it doesn't make the big deal too. What is it? It didn't make sense.
It just didn't make sense.
Why it didn't make sense? Why was
it called a weigh-in?
Why was he locking the cage when there's already police there? If he's locking none of this makes sense. That's why I said it had to be a rewrite.
My hand's up. Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Not just 3 minutes ago, you saw the cell actually coming down. So you telling me that they really locked in that cage when all Triple H had to do was give the command to lift the cell?
Well, that's the other part of it too. But Triple H didn't do anything out there. So.
Okay, Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce couldn't tell him to lift the cell.
You guys deal with it. So that was bad. But then you tried to sneak in there the Danhausen Joe Hendry thing, but you also like Chad Gable's theme song. So nobody's listening to you for your musical taste on this episode.
First off,
on this show,
don't do that.
And even in real life. Okay. No. We do not listen to Rhodesia around these parts for musical taste. You heard what I said. But Danhausen and Joe Hendry. I said earlier, I put Danhausen
the most musically inclined of the two of us right now. How are you going to say what you just said there?
Joe Hendry, I don't believe in you.
Yeah.
Shout out to Joe Hendry, the performer, the person. That shit jumped the shark for me. I really was not here for Joe Hendry. I thought it was okay. It was cool. I was happy for him, right? I was happy that the kind of reactions he got WrestleMania a couple years ago when he went against Orton, damn near blew the roof off of the WrestleMania crowd. I thought that was incredible. I thought the stuff that he's done has been fun. Boy, I have never been so ready for a heel team to come in and jump some baby faces more so than Danhausen and Joe Hendry during that song. And shout out to my girls who's out there cutting the rug. They was killing it. Doing their thing. Looking great.
Listen.
Love it. Appreciate you. And then we get the little Hausens, right? And how many, okay, Lil Housins was cool, but I was getting Lil Housins like once every 2 months. Lil Housins ain't as cool anymore. I'm getting it every week.
JD kicked the shit out of
So,
them. I'm
hey, WWE, let's clip this up. Hey, WWE, I'm looking right in the camera. You are pushing Danhausen down our throats. Treat him like Bron Breakker. Pull back. Pull back on Danhausen.
Just so you know, you did one of me. You looked over. But that's okay.
I'm looking right into the camera.
Yeah, but that's the other camera. But swear to God. And some people will understand what I'm about to say about this because if they watch Raw kind of on VPN, blah, blah, blah. I swear to God, I thought they were on commercial break. Swear to God.
And then, you did. Mid-song. The song had been going on for 6 minutes. About 4 minutes in, he was like, man, they took a commercial break doing this? I was like, no, we're live, pal.
I was just like, oh, hell no. I don't even know why I even continue watching the show because the shit they pulled with the Hell in a Cell and then that dance number, I'm done. I was done. And then Soul, nah.
And then
terrible.
And then after that, you get Seth telling him, hey, Roman, you are never going to beat me in one thing, which matters the most. That's professional wrestling. Roman looked that man in the eye and said, dude, I'm the last star. What? What are we talking about right now?
Because again, Seth ran circles around him again. He's so heavy in it.
No, you know what it is? And this is when I figured it out. Roman is just practicing for his eventual Cody feud. The same shit he said to Seth, he's going to say to Cody. There's only one star in the business, right? Those are all to Cody Rhodes' line. Remember how I told you like Punk and Roman was like getting their shit in here or there? I think that's what Roman's doing now. So he's not talking to Seth at all. We know him and Seth are brothers. He's like, hey man, do you mind? Look, I'm going to get you on night 2. I'm going to get you on night 2. You ain't got to worry about it. You've never been on night 2 for really any kind of show for the most part. You've always been a night 1 guy. I'm going to have you night 2 last night, but I need a favor. And Seth, of course, like, anything you need, brother. He's like, look, man, just know all of our promos, I'm not talking to you.
Hey, about you.
I'm practicing for Cody.
Okay. What?
What'd you think? What'd you think about that?
No, all I just know is that Seth ran circles around him again. Roman again. Maybe
Seth,
if someone told me that, if somebody told me Roman wasn't locked in right now, I would say he's not. I agree.
Roman hit that angry emote and said, "What don't you understand? I'm the biggest star here."
He was caught at the N-word. He's like, I'm bringing in money.
Big Rome don't care. And then it hit, and then at the end, when he was about to hit Seth with the chair, and that was the creative. So look, I'm gonna give you some backstage news, right? Hot off the press.
I don't know if I want it. I don't even know if I want it.
The creative was for Roman, really not really, to hit Seth with the chair and then stand tall at the end of the show. But then Roman remembered, shit, if I go over in this segment, I'm losing the title at SummerSlam. I can see the moment in Roman's eyes where it hits him and he goes, oh shit, I'm on top right now in this segment. I know what this means for wrestling. He went out and got that chair, and then they got to business, and then he was like, oh, thank God Seth hit me with the stomp on this chair. So Roman safe.
That was
Roman
the best curb
on
stomp
Sunday
that he's ever taken, huh? In his heart, in his spirit, he said this was the best curb stomp I've ever taken.
But they show that on Unreal, and Roman don't fuck with Unreal.
Not at all. Not at
Roman's
all.
Always around.
You get his likeness when he's in the ring.
Roman.
In the ring, if you don't got the footage of him in the ring, you ain't getting it.
Yeah.
You ain't getting me. You ain't getting me walking up the ramp. You get
Roman
it with me
won
in
the
ring.
Royal Rumble. You didn't see Roman in Gorilla before or after the win. Roman and CM Punk still has the match of the year for WWE after WrestleMania Night 2. And according to Unreal, Roman Reigns is still in the ring in Las Vegas. He ain't left the ring. They ended that show so quick after the 1, 2, 3. They went to CM Punk, and CM Punk was like, man, I'm 46. I'm the best wrestler at 46 and 47 in 6 months. I'm going to be the best wrestler at 47. They went to credits. I was like, so we just going to ignore who the top guy is of the company? Like, we have no story to tell.
Y'all not paying me. Y'all not paying me for that. Y'all, he's saying that. Y'all ain't paying me for that.
Roman says, I'm not doing your little Netflix show. They got fucking Cody Rhodes out there cutting promos with a busted eye, broken eye socket. Talking about, I think it went well, but we can't even get Roman on camera with a picture with Triple H with the title. Nah, I've seen enough. I've seen enough, man.
Oh my God.
Oh, yo. So then we had that, and then I am glad, all seriousness, Rusev, scary moment on Raw.
Whew.
I haven't seen anything official, but he had his match with Javon, and he takes a kick, and it's not even a sell. He's telling Javon, like, kind of, he kind of waved him off a little bit, and he rolls out of the ring, and then Javon goes to meet him, and then it sounds like he said my head went numb. Doesn't make sense, so I'm guessing he said my hands went numb. And then the referee goes and checks out. They never shoot them. They shoot Javon. Then Rusev, I guess, gets his, feelings back, and then they finish the match. I know he rolled out pretty quick after the match off camera and kind of went right to the back. But once again, it just shows just how quick things can happen in professional wrestling. So shout out to Rusev. But he, that happened, and then of course Raquel getting booted in the face happened. I think somebody else had an injury scare too, or an injury on that show. I can't remember who, but I could be. It was
an omen of that show. That show was terrible. They shouldn't even have.
I'll tell you what's even.
Could have continued the video packages for me.
I'll tell you what's even funnier. So we clipped up from last week's show where I talked about how like Raw was a strange show. I was like, way too much Judgment Day member, and I'm like,
in video packages.
No, I didn't say video package. That was only you because you didn't really watch all the way through. And then I said we didn't get like a women match on the card. So I didn't put that clip up until Monday on all our other social media platforms. You ain't following us, follow us, of course, just because like we had clips and, just putting clips out every single day. And it got traction, I'm guessing, because people probably searched like Raw sucked or whatever. So that video is popping up. So I got a ton of comments today on like the platform is like, didn't Raquel win the IC title, or Raquel and Soul was last night? I was like, hey, this is from last week. And somebody was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But there was a lot of Judgment Day on last night's show too. I was like, yep. So they thought that video that I talked about last week was about yesterday's show. That's crazy. So yeah, you had that. I got two. Well, now it's time for me to put Sami over from SmackDown.
Yeah, okay.
Because we got to get to SummerSlam and we got to get to Redemption. I said for weeks that when Sami gets to cut that promo, holy hell, did you not give that man so much material? And Sami went for over 3 minutes talking right to the camera backstage about how he's been screwed, and he hit everybody. Masterful performance by Sami Zayn. When I tell you, he is locked in. He's locked in. He's doing some of the best work that I've seen from him. I mean, he's always good. Even when he was the conspiracy theorist on SmackDown, I didn't find that as, entertaining as this. But think about what he's done with the Bloodline. He is so underrated in what he brings. Absolutely the MVP of WWE TV in 2026. But I thought that work was tremendous. And the fire that he brought, he was so locked in. And once again, that's going to get us to the number one contendership match with Finn Balor that we are going to get on SummerSlam. And I'm happy for Finn. And Finn gave it away that he was winning because he was so locked in and dialed in on that promo on SmackDown. I was like, oh, Finn's winning this Fatal 4-Way. And he did. But man, I had to give Sami his flowers. Wow, was that great?
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from it. No, I would have liked it though. Right after, was that a few weeks ago? Like that should have been the first time I saw him. But we didn't get that, and just even more fuel to the fire. So I'm so happy that we did get that, and we were able to watch it. I didn't know it went 3 minutes, so that even speaks even more volumes about how passionate that he was to go that long. Just him and the camera. So VP.
And he knew this was the first time we're hearing from you. We've seen you.
Yeah.
We saw you work Saturday night's main event, right? But this is the first time we're going to hear from you. You got to bring it, and he brought it. Other thing that I just thought was hilarious. Priest is backstage in his promo, and I think he tells Cody, he looks Cody right in his face, and he said, man, the locker room's tired of the same guys on top.
Yo.
He got a fucking pop from the crowd.
I forgot about that, yes.
I was like, ooh, wrong reaction. Jesus. Yeah. I don't know. You don't really expect
I don't think Priest should have said that.
But I don't definitely think Priest didn't expect
he went in the business for himself. He went into business for himself on that one. He went down to AAA. He started feeling himself.
Sure did. Taker told him, like, dude, I gave you my gimmick, and this is what you're gonna do with it. If you don't go ruffle some feathers down there, he came back. Aye, Captain. But yeah, I thought that was entertaining and intriguing. All right. So SummerSlam. You got Saturday's card?
I do actually have both cards up. And it's so funny because up into the announcement of night 1 and night 2, Cody and CM Punk was always the biggest caption on WWE.com as far as SummerSlam. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, Roman working night 1? I don't know what you said to me. But you was like, oh, like you tapped me on my head. You're so cute.
You're so cute. I think I kissed you right in your forehead and kept it walking. Them brothers,
Roman ain't working
night 1 is your night. Your job is to set us off. Hey, you set him up, I knock him down.
All right, so let me get this card pulled up.
Night 1, so they released the cards Monday morning. Man, night 1 is a heavy hitting day. Yeah. Night 1 is what night 2 was for WrestleMania. For me.
Okay.
In terms of the matches that they have for night 1. So what are we doing? Are we just running through the card? I mean, tell me, because you're running this. What's happening?
We'll do this. We're going match by match since there's only 6 per night. As of right now, what I'll say is just give me a letter grade on how you felt the build has been so far.
Got it.
I think that's pretty fair. That's pretty fair. Yeah.
Okay.
Letter grade. So we'll just start off with the undisputed WWE Championship between CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. Letter grade. I go first.
So we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip it. Of course, so we're going to finish with CM Punk and Cody Rhodes.
So then why don't you just lead this segment?
Because I don't have the card in front of me. But that's why.
Okay.
Yeah,
I swear. All right, let's go. Yeah. Let's go with Shield 2. Let's go with Fatal Influence, because I said I was going to stop calling them Shield Volume 2. So we got Fatal Influence versus...
Hold on, actually speak it up. I got it right in front of me. Thank you for saying that. Shout out to Mr. Teddy Farrell. I think this was on maybe TikTok. And we had put the video up about last week, kind of the beginning of the show, where I'm like, hey, you leading off. You said you got something for Saturday's main event. And I named the 2 things I thought it was. And you said, absolutely not. And he said, nah, Rhodesia might have cooked with this one. Shield 2.0 was on point, but I almost want to call them Undisputed Era 2.0 Fatal Influence. It's literally the quiet group that can revitalize the women's division on SmackDown. And after the work JC Jane put in on NXT, it's time to put all the gold on them. So Mr. Terry Farrell, shout out to you. I think you are correct. I think this should be Undisputed Era 2.0 and not Shield 2.0. They are much closer to being Undisputed Era than they are the Shield.
Come on. Okay, I'm like, all right. Okay. But no, shout out to him. Shout out to that man. So we have Fatal Influence, and we had a returning Nikki Bella. So now we have Nikki, Brie, and Paige. The build, I'm going to still give it maybe a B minus. I'm going to give it a B minus because I think they've been kind of going back and forth. Nikki coming back is cool too, but before Nikki showed up, I was cool with it. B minus.
So this is the this or that episode, and this side of me, I always tell you how much I love you and I appreciate you.
You talking about me?
Seeing this that episode, I hate you and I can't stand you.
Why would you hate about me? I'm talking about the build. I said the build.
You gave the build
a B minus between these 2 people, this group of people. Yeah.
You gave a build of B minus when Nikki Bella didn't come out and come back until a few days ago.
I'm talking, it's still a fatal
influence.
Influence.
She's involved in the match.
The majority of the people is in it.
It is 3-on-3. The build is incomplete. God. And if you want to go something, there's got to be a DRF. Because
DRF?
because you didn't say, when you came out here.
So where's the E at? First off, you didn't even give it, so you don't have E's anymore?
He's gone. When you we came out here and went on your tangent a couple weeks ago about just how bad Brie and Paige were, you didn't say, but I am kind of feeling their feud with Fatal Influence. So I'll see where it goes. If you don't give them a DRF and keep it moving.
Listen, I'm trying to be objective.
But your objectiveness is horrible. Good God. You said
I'm still giving it.
I think
I'm still gonna give it a B- because
Nikki
over the
just came
last,
back. She
let's
did
say
cut a pretty good
6 weeks-ish.
promo.
Look,
She did a really
stop.
nice run in.
No,
I think
over the last 6 weeks-ish,
I think
they've been going back and forth with each other.
suffices.
They've been showing their dominance.
All right.
They being undisputed fatal influence. They've been
right.
showing their dominance, and then they took the titles off. I'm okay with this actual build between these two groupings of people. I mean, B-. You evidently giving it an F, right?
It's not an F just because fatal influence are now champions. So I give it a D. D
Okay.
is dog shit, as you used to say. So so then also let's talk. So how do you think the match is going to be? I think the match is going to be cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I would say that too, because they have fatal influence. Like I am so over the moon with them, and my expectations for them is high too. But it's also they're brand new. They're green. A couple of them are green. Not all of them. JC Dane isn't green, but they're new. So I'm giving them that luxury of that wiggle room. But yeah, I think it's going to be a cool match. Yeah.
Nice.
Next we have the Usos and
these other 5. I'm personally here for. And then and if you take this one off, those 4 loaded for Sunday.
For sure. Yeah. Yep. So we got Usos and Jacob versus Royce Keys, LA Knight, and Solo.
You know what's interesting to me? I think I'm surprised by the lack of excitement and interest and intrigue in this match.
For yourself?
We talked
or
on
for
last week's show. No, hell no, not for me. Yeah, for other people on last week's show. I believe it was last week's show where I kind of ran down the card. Remember, I said the majority of matches, I'm like, going to be great. I didn't say the 6-man tag was going to be great, but that was the match I led off with. So many comments said, there's no way you're excited for the 6-man match. This 6-man match sucks. There's no reason for this 6-man match to be on this card. And for me, this has been some of the best built television for a match on SummerSlam. Think about the work LA Knight has done over the last few weeks. We are turning Solo Sikoa babyface.
Yeah.
Solo is a babyface now, getting a positive reaction from the crowd after he was getting fuck you Solo chants for the last year plus. We have Jey Uso in this match, which is still the Yeet Man. Jacob Fatu is in this match. Royce Keys is getting a nice little rub from this. Like, I don't understand why people are so against this match outside of maybe they just don't particularly care about
the story,
the people that's in it.
Yeah.
But you can't sit here and tell me the creative hasn't been good. Now, I also, because this is I could come out and say, are the Usos babyface or heels? I don't get it. So they got a little bit of a theme song change. Jay ain't yeeting the way he used to yeet. He don't blow himself up no more, so he kind of do it a little bit, but he don't really do it a little bit. Jimmy growing his hair out. He's stressed. So I don't know, you know what I mean? There's a whole lot of stuff going on right now. So, but for what they have done on television, I think this is one of the better built matches. And I think you have some big time stories in this because LA Knight can't keep the Bloodline name out of his mouth. So there ain't no way in hell this is the last thing that we're getting with LA Knight.
Yeah.
You know,
I think,
but shout out to him though, because you made a comment real quick. You made a comment last week about, or yesterday we were watching, and I think it was promo and he kind of flubbed a little bit. And I'm like, that's going to happen because people don't understand how hard that promo style is to do. That is is out of, and I'm going to say Austin, he's the last one that really did it at the highest level. Austin wasn't the first one with that kind of promo style, but it's very intense from 0 to 100 from the beginning all the way to the end, right? So there is no time for me to slow down and collect my thoughts, for me to drop the tone of my voice. It is, we are here and we are here for 45 seconds to a minute and a half. And no, I can't think through what I'm going to say because if I thought through what I'm going to say, this don't feel the same. So yeah, you're going to get a couple of a flub here or there. But I think that's what makes his promo style real. But I kind of just bring that up because I wanted to shout him out because, I mean, everything he's doing is straight out the book of either Rock or Stone Cold. Even his, I'm like, yo, that's his what?
The
last couple weeks he's been saying, and it's perfect. It is like, yo, he's not saying what, but he is saying, And I know, like, as a kid,
well, you remember,
you better not say what
I'm
to
cool, LA Knight. Oh no,
you better not say what to an adult.
Oh my
Huh?
god.
You could say now. You kind of can't say huh. They'd be like, no, it's excuse me. But if you said what as a kid to an adult,
Quick story time with Protege. I remember little Matthew was in a younger grade in grade school, and this kind of it was called charter schools in Michigan. And we were into parent teacher conference, and one of the first things that this teacher said to me was something happened in her classroom, and a kid said what to her, and Matthew was like, we don't do that. And in that moment, she was proud, and I was proud of Matthew. You don't say what to an adult. You just don't.
yeah, buddy, we don't do that.
But no, I'm gonna give this build an A. And the reason why I'm gonna give it an A is because again, they have done a fun job with going between SmackDown and Raw. So and it doesn't feel like they're shoving it down my throat. And they've done this now for several weeks. And each of them kind of have some even built-in storylines between each other, especially like with Jacob and Royce. Like I even enjoyed kind of that whole part too for the whole week, the couple episodes between the two of them. So I'm gonna give that as a letter grade A. And I think the match itself is going to be really good too. So I must probably say A.
Should be a fun
A.
match.
Mm-hmm.
Should be a fun match. I mean, you got the pieces to absolutely make it crowd interactive. You know what I mean? Like you did it, but yeah, for me, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna go A just because A would be excellent. That's high, but I'm absolutely B plus. And see, this is me cheating again, right? Like, because depending on what happens in the match is also going to add to the build. Because if they do some stupid shit like have Solo go back to the bloodline, it's like, all right, man, that build was an F. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Exactly.
Yeah. But if something else come out of it where it's like he's a bona fide babyface now, or something happened on LA Knight, I may be like, yeah, no, that was goated. That's A plus.
And you know, I'm LA Knight's biggest fan now. It's been 3 weeks now, I think. So definitely.
Ever since he cut that Still I Rise promo?
Ever since he cut that Still I Rise. His flubbers is just more passion for me to connect with him on a human level. LA Knight is my guy.
You are, oh boy, you okay.
We are each other's spirit animals, okay?
Yeah, because Lord knows you flub some words.
Next one is Liv and EO. I don't know if I can give this build a letter grade only because I'm still just butthurt about how everything went down with the Queen of the Ring tournament. And I don't think that I'm gonna, because I want to initially say that it's terrible, but I don't think I'm being objective here in a whole interaction because every time EO showed up, Liv has did something to get her jumped or beat up. So I think it's been a good build. I'm just still in my feelings on this and still really butthurt about the whole Queen of the Ring tournament. I think the actual match is going to be great. Liv has shown, especially now since she's been back to champion, that she is going to wrestle and she is a great wrestler. So, and we already know EO. Again, EO is known as probably one of the best female wrestlers today. So I think the match is going to be excellent. I just can't grade the build because I'm just kind of in my feelings on that.
Match is going to be great because they saved a lot when they worked at the Night of Champions. Yep, in Saudi just a month ago. So match is going to be great for sure. This build is about a C minus because it's incomplete also, but I'm going to give it a C minus. I was checking while you were talking just to make sure about this. Do you know Liv Morgan has not defended her title once after winning at WrestleMania? I think she hit 100 days yesterday. She does not have one title defense.
Oh my gosh.
So I say that to say, how unreal is that? No pun intended. But also, I had been coming out, and even as much as a couple days ago, been saying, I don't know why Liv Morgan was in the Queen of the Ring tournament. But now we know why, because they had to get her some action. Because if she wasn't in the Queen of the Ring tournament, evidently she wouldn't have fucking wrestled at all in the last 3+ months. That is unreal. 0 title defenses. So now you hear that and you say, can she really drop the title without having, this is her first title defense?
Ooh.
But think about that. You won the belt at WrestleMania. Here it is, SummerSlam. You have not had one title defense.
That just speaks a lot to then the booking, because remember Judgment Day was on that bullshit too. They were like 5 months until only had 1 or 2 title defenses
when they were the tag. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like whatever. Okay. Next we have Gunther and Nick Aldis. Build is an A. Match, I don't know because I've never watched Nick Aldis wrestle. Well,
But
he's in there with Gunther.
You ain't never seen Gunther in a bad match.
Exactly. So
and
I think it's going to be at least a
there
B.
for Nick Aldis and Cody Rhodes, so you have seen him wrestle. That was an All In.
No, I don't.
First ever All In. Yep.
I don't remember it though. So, but cool. So yes, I think the match is going to be.
I'm giving this
good.
build. Yeah, well, the match is going to be good because Nick Aldis ain't coming out of retirement to have a bad match. Gunther's not going to allow him to have a bad match, even if he wanted to have a bad match. That's not happening. So I'm so excited for this match too. Match I think is going to be very good. The build I give it by maybe about A-, A-, B+, just because there were a couple of things that kind of still didn't make sense in how we got there. But we're here. They did what they needed to do for the last week or so. I really enjoyed the promo from Nick on SmackDown against Gunther. So, yep.
All right. Hell in a Cell. We have Oba Brock 3. Build has to be an A, even if you just had Oba by himself. And again, I'm eliminating what we saw on Raw because I was like, this is the first time I felt like
that's not fair. You can't, even though we're recording this before SmackDown, so Punk and Cody could get a different grade, letter grade, if we were able to see their go home segment. But it is what it is. You have to include what you saw.
Okay,
on
whatever,
Monday.
because it's been going on for so long. It's been going on for 100 days. So I'm gonna give it an A. I'm gonna give the build between Brock and Oba 3 A. And then the match I think is going to be what it needs to be.
My letter grade is going to be I hate to do it, but like C+. Because my grade is grading the build for this match, not this entire feud. So I'm grading from when Brock came back, talk shit, get hit, and challenge him to Hell in a Cell to Monday on Raw. And in that time
the cage scene
period, they sold me, literally, they sold me night one when he said he wanted him in Hell in a Cell at SummerSlam. That was what sold me for 100% fat to go to SummerSlam. But since they did nothing for me to be any more excited about the match. So I'm at about a C+. And I think the match is going to be great again. I thought WrestleMania for what it was great. I thought the match number 2
I thought
was
the second
great.
match was my favorite of the two so far.
And now we got 3. And we know that Brock is going to give all that equity to Obafemi. A lot of the talk around Raw, either I think in the video package in the promo segment, was Brock is undefeated in Hell in a Cell.
Mm-hmm.
He's 2-0 against Taker.
Yep.
The most feared and violent and dangerous caged fighter in history. Hell in a Cell is in the cage. All that goes to Obafemi when Oba beats him, which is why we're doing Hell in a Cell. I'm sure they kind of thought through, hey, we know we need to run this again, right? And okay, so we did a singles at Mania, so we got to have something else. What match makes the most sense? That is still going to be interesting, still going to be entertaining. We can sell it as Brock has some type of chance to win. It's this. So I even appreciate that.
But I think Brock thought he got out unscathed. He only had 2 Hell in a Cells in his whole WWE career.
This ain't working that shit. He said, why are you putting me in Hell in a Cell? We only go in 5 minutes. And they were like, yeah, good point. Good point.
Right, so let's rewind to 15 minutes ago. So now we have CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. Letter grade for the build and what you think letter grade the match will be.
Match is going to be fantastic. If this match does not come away and it is not, if we all don't say that match is minimally great,
minimally great?
Minimally great. Minimally great.
They got some high standards. You got some high standards on that.
Significantly. Then. This is Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. Main event of SummerSlam. Why would it not be great? Minimally great. Should be fantastic. But I got high expectations and the match is going to deliver. Build. I'm nitpicking. This is the That Show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dropping it. It's somewhere in the B range. Actually, no. This is actually the build is average. See, when they made the match, just say win-win, and that was the match. Okay, all right, so now give me something the next couple weeks. And I enjoyed the story they told leading up to Saturday night's main event. But did I hate Cody Rhodes' promo beginning at SmackDown when he tells CM Punk, "I don't like you."
Yeah,
I was just out here fucking saying y'all were friends and brothers like 2 weeks ago, man.
Exactly.
And he tried to not cover it up, right? But he gave his explanation. You don't have to like somebody to be a brother or a family. Nah, dude, you saying I just don't like you. Like,
wait, you can't write this, y'all. We can't write this. Cody's just rehearsing with CM Punk what he's gonna say to Roman.
We cracked the code.
I just don't like you. I don't like you.
But when he says it to Roman, he's gonna cry. He's gonna kind of cry a little bit. Reminds me much like when he said it to Punk, it was like, I just don't like you. When he says it to Roman, he's gonna be like, I just don't like you. It's gonna be kind of a whole thing. Yeah, I like it. Actually, that probably is a red herring. I bet you, when we watch whatever Roman's working on that's going to be released in 20 years, he'd be like, go back and listen to the promos during. Yeah.
I was really thinking about Cody the whole time. I'm going to say that the build, and again, no, this is not a spoiler on how I'm feeling on night 2. I'm going to give this a C at best, just because we had 2.5 weeks. So I think the match is going to be great. When you say minimally great, that's kind of where I'm like, okay, no, I could probably be somebody saying that it's a good match. But I think it's going to be a great match.
Then either they're hating or Cody and Punk failed. You guys are running a stadium main event match at SummerSlam. It's not too much to say I expect the main event to be great. Minimally. Hey, guess where I think Ospreay and Omega is going to do.
Yeah.
At All In. Main event stadium show. Matches are going to be excellent, tremendous. Yeah. Minimally. Right? Yeah, it's okay. Like, if not, something happens. Something's wrong. How can it not be? If it's just Punk and Cody. Those, come on, y'all.
All right, night 2. We have Danhausen and Dom Mysterio.
Money's on a pole.
I'm going to say build. See, okay, so this is that this or that. This is my first time that I'm channeling and feeling you, the this or that. That this could be, it's wonderful. They've been talking about this $100,000 of human money. Like, that has been going on forever. We've seen 20 segments.
You can say this is the best build match on the entire weekend.
Yes. 20 showings of the Judgment Day, and over the last 4 weeks between, how many times they show up on Raw and have segments. This could be a great build. This could be 8
and something's happened every week to progress the story.
Yes.
Right. So right. It's just gone too long. That's this side of it. That side of it is, are you fucking kidding me with Dominic Mysterio? That he is.
What are we doing here?
Involved in this. And that is not a knock on Danhausen. Danhausen's getting some great reactions right now. But you told me, Rhodesia, just a month and a half ago, my time now is kind of all over the place, but I think it was like a month and a half ago where we were talking about made people. And you said you think Dominic Mysterio is a made man. I told you absolutely he is not a made man. Would you like to retract that statement of Dominic Mysterio being a made man? Because if Dominic Mysterio was a made man, this match is still a top 3 match of the weekend because he's Dominic Mysterio and you feel differently about the build to this match. He's not a made man yet.
Well, first off, you took that out of context of what I meant and my definition of what a made man was. But just because you brought that up, I'm just, because I'm stubborn about it. Yep, I'm still going to say it. I say that he's actually just giving out, this is a charity case for him. He's just giving out this match on the second biggest night or third biggest night of all of professional wrestling. He's giving that to Danhausen.
And once again, this is not a knock on Danhausen. I promise you, it's not. The issue is Dominic Mysterio, not that long ago, had the most heat of any person on the WWE roster from the crowd. This guy went from putting the microphone up to his mouth and not being able to talk because the boos would be drowned out. And I'm going to say then to be relegated to this. Is he having a good time? I'm sure, probably so. I don't know. I'm sure he is. right? He's still AAA Mega World Champion, but when we have, it's more, you know what it is? It's more of the conversation we had earlier, and then you compound it with this. We weren't having a conversation about the people who aren't on SummerSlam, or how people are dropping titles, how people aren't being utilized on TV, how people, they're dragging their feet on, and you got this, it makes it look differently than everything else is going great. And you're like, this will be one of those, man, hopefully, like, they got some good plan for Dominic after SummerSlam and he gets away from Danhausen, and then you move on. But when it's on top of, when it's addition to, it just feels different.
So, you think the match is gonna be good though? Letter grade for the match?
I think it's going to be entertaining because I think Danhausen's entertaining. We know Dominic's entertaining, but it's going to be entertaining for the perspective of, okay, this is the match. I'm going to get something to drink or go to the bathroom. I'll catch it.
Agree. I agree.
You know, I'll catch it on the drive back.
All right, let's move on. So we have for the U.S. Championship, we have Trick Williams and Baron Corbin. Build grade and what you think the match is going to be graded.
Builds a D.
I think the match is
builds a D. And that's with me being fans of both of these guys. But I talked about earlier. Why is Carmelo not involved? Why is Baron Corbin getting that shot? I heard the promo. I heard the promo from him. Right, I'm coming back for what's mine. All that. Okay, that still doesn't make sense of. And where's Ricky Saints at? That's pretty cool too. But so D is in dog shit for the build. I am very much looking forward to this match though, because there needs to be a reason why this match is happening. Is that for Corbin to put Trick through some paces? Is that for Corbin to get Trick to have a really good match? Right. I mean, Corbin is a veteran. He knows how to work big style. He's be the heel in that match. Trick's gonna be the baby face. So this is actually one of the matches I'm most looking forward to, because I want to be able to watch the match and say, okay, now I understand why we had this match at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I think that the build is a F, and I'm gonna say that the match would be a C. But I would kind of agree with you as far as seeing it. I think the grade is irrelevant to the point of the match for me. Again, it is a matter of how is Trick going to look in that match. All right, we are now moving on to Penta and Gable for the Intercontinental Championship. Letter grade
should be
build,
one of the matches of the
and what you think?
weekend. Should be one of the matches of the weekend. So once again, now this match is not very good. At the least, something happened. Something went wrong. And I think the build is, I think the build has been good. So I would give it a B. B minus.
The build is about to be interesting. What I'm about to say here has not been that good for me as long, like between Penta and Gable. Now, Gable has his own momentum, so I think that can kind of persuade my answers, but I think the build is actually probably even worse than that. I'm going to give it a C minus for a build, and same thing, I think the actual match itself needs to be, at minimum, very good, because these are two top-level, top elite professional wrestlers. So an A for what I anticipate the match to be.
For me, it's a positive grade for the build, just from the perspective of the storyline of Chad coming back to apologize to all luchadors, and it led to this.
Okay.
That alone. From where he was with El Grande Americano, and then now I'm on the apology tour to get this, I'm cool with it.
So couldn't that be kind of how I graded then Brock Oba 3? And how you took the other way of it? I'm only looking at from the moment of when the kick, shit, ass, all that stuff. I feel that's kind of the same thing, but.
Well, the only reason why it's not, you could argue it if you wanted to, but because we haven't seen Chad and Penta work during this time frame yet. This is the third match between Brock and Oba.
All right, so probably maybe the one I am the most looking forward to, without the emotions like of the Roman stuff, would be Finn and Sami Zayn. This is for the undisputed WWE Championship #1 contender. What do you think is going to be? Well, right now, what's the grade, and how do you think the match?
Incomplete. That's not fair, right? They just made this match Friday. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so if we wanted to go into, if I had to, you say like, Matt, you got to give me a grade. Even with that, I would give it honestly like a B plus A minus. And that grade is coming from Sami bitching enough to get put in a number one contenders match at SummerSlam, and the winner gets the champion. Excuse me, the winner gets the champion of Cody and Punk. Okay, that makes all the sense in the world to me, for sure. Let's do it. And then now you add the Finn Balor part of it. So I would go really high if I had to. I do think it's incomplete just because like the match is more of the number one contenders match than it is a rivalry, right? That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then I expect this match once again to be very, very good also. Right? Like I think there are times where I'm not blown away by Finn Balor's matches. There's actually some times where Finn's matches kind of bored me a little bit. I haven't been bored in a while from Finn, but that was kind of a thing a little bit. I'm excited to see how him and Sami work. I think they both have something to prove. If Finn's going to be, my point of saying it is, if Finn's going to be one of the top names on SmackDown, this match needs to be really, really strong and needs to position him in a good spot. Sami's already one of the top names there on SmackDown, so but he's going to perform anyway, right? Like you ain't got to worry about Sami at a PLE. Somebody else would say the same about Finn, but yeah. I expect both of them to go out there and do the damn thing.
Echo incomplete for the build, but if I had to, I'm gonna actually probably give it a good one, only because by it only being announced or known a week out, and for me to feel like if Sami had a number one contenders match, that in my mind Sami's gonna win no matter what. I now have a tiny bit of extra doubt that maybe he won't, because maybe Finn will, because of the back and forth between Finn and CM Punk from before. So they kind of got me there like, oh, there is a chance that Sami's not going to just hands down win the match. So if I had to, I would put it C+ or higher just because of that. But yeah, incomplete. And it's probably not fair to even give a grade. And the same thing, two professional wrestlers, they need to be able to shine. I had said before that I thought that Finn has been going through the motions. I have been very critical on him about that, but it's been maybe about 8 months now or so, maybe a little bit longer.
This damn fly. I'm sorry. This fly is...
Same here.
I'm sure you probably...
Same here, yeah.
Like...
Yeah. But since Finn kind of was showing the signs, well, one from the first CM Punk match he had, and kind of him kind of deflecting from the Judgment Day, I've been seeing a new side of Finn. But prior to that, he had been going through the motions, I felt like, for some years. And that's kind of mean to say, but that's just what I felt off of his character. So, and I guess Judgment Day was never for him.
Though, right?
And that's what I'm saying. And then Judgment Day, over the last few years, he wasn't meant to be the number one in Judgment Day. So.
Well, he was, remember? And then we got WrestleMania.
Not really.
Finn Balor, the Demon, and Edge, and Edge beat him. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, but that was okay.
See, look, because this is that show. I'm just bringing up all the shit that I've had.
Right. But how many years has we been since that, though? That's what I'm getting at. Alrighty, so if this is still up to date, we still have for the interim WWE Women's Championship ladder match. It looks like we have one entry left.
Yes, I don't know. I think that match is happening on Friday, but it doesn't matter. The build has been, once again, kind of like incomplete, just because the match is for that title and they just announced it. Because so I don't knock them at all, but I think this match is going to be fantastic. I do. Well, fantastic is kind of strong, but I would expect anything less. This match, once again, I expect it to be very, very good. If it's not very, very good, then it sucks and something's wrong for the players you have in it, along with it's for the title.
It's a championship match, right? So for me, I feel like that.
I don't know if I don't remember seeing that's going to be another match on SmackDown for the final entry.
That's why I'm a little confused. I'm a little confused there.
I would love a return here. I would love a Naomi return. I would love a Stephanie Vecchia return. Now, granted, you would think Stephanie's gonna be connected to Liv Morgan, so maybe that's what we get to. Is Liv retains, and then we get Stephanie's return. So they pick that back up from WrestleMania, maybe. But time is ticking for me with Naomi. Like, come on, girl, get back here and get back to doing what you were doing.
Yep. Let me say who's actually in the match so far right now. We have Charlotte Flair. We have Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton, Chelsea Green as of now. And what I'm going to give this build, again, incomplete as well, but I'm going to give this actually, if I had to say, something higher, so anything higher than a C+, because you already have like 2 major built-in stories already in this match. So, and I would have been there maybe for them in just singles matches. So I would say that the build,
but that's what we were scheduled
incomplete.
to get. We were scheduled to get Jade and Charlotte one-on-one finally. It wasn't going to be for the belt. This would be non-title, but that was going to be one of the big matches. And then, like I said, it was going to be Rhea and either Alexa, which probably would have been, or JC Jane. So we missed out on a couple different things.
As far as, though, you made a comment that the match itself should probably at minimum be really good. I'm probably not on that level. I think if the match is good, I would not be surprised, but I would be happy and sad. Well, I guess anybody would be happy with a good match. I just don't think that the minimum is going to be a good match.
Damn, that's crazy. Okay. And main event's next, right?
Main event. So Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, aka Cody Rhodes, per what Matt says.
Just getting the shit in. Just working it out, working out the kinks.
You know my build grade.
Yeah, well, what is yours?
Mine's probably even gotten worse. I said that it was no surprise. I was going to say at least a C. Me at most a C. Might be even a little bit worse just because Roman has not shown out the way that I wanted him to in this. And I already was mad because I said I'm now having to deal with this for only so many weeks. And you said, well, if it was any longer, you might feel even worse. And I think you actually might be right. So I actually, because we had one more week of what we saw yesterday on Raw. Oh yeah, I would say E or a F. But I'm going to say the build for me is a D, knowing that I have some emotions in there. So I'm grading it on my emotions, a D. In the match itself, this is interesting. I think as far as a pro wrestling match, I think it's going to be a really great pro wrestling match, minimal. But it depends on kind of how the match is worked. If it's worked a lot like Roman style versus Seth style, as far as my personal letter grade for it. At minimum, though, I think it's going to be a really good match.
I'm hoping that the finish of this match or the match is structured around pro wrestling. And either Roman just beats him in this pro wrestling match or Roman cheats to win. So that line sticks for Seth. Of like, yep, you could be better than me and everything else, but when it comes to this wrestling thing, I'm the man. And I thought when he said that, I actually thought that's what Roman's response was going to be. If that's what you think you got over me, good for you. Look, being the best wrestler ain't, you don't want to shit on wrestling, but being the best wrestler is only part of the equation, and I'll make sure I show you up, little brother, on that too on Sunday. That's where I thought we was going to kind of go, but evidently we didn't do it. I want to give it a positive build grade just because of that first promo segment where Seth just went out there and smoked it, one of his best promos of his career. Yeah. So for that, I'm going to give it at least a C+, B-. But I've been underwhelmed since with the build kind of overall for the most part. And I've also been underwhelmed too with the video packages. I thought the video packages should have been much better than what they were. I don't understand Roman's deep growl voice like this talking through it. He doesn't talk like that. That doesn't make sense. I didn't like that. And their history is much better to where those video packages, one should be longer than 30 seconds at a time. That didn't make sense to me. But give me a 3-part series. Give me a 3-part series, 5 minutes apiece. Give me pre-Shield, right? Give me Shield, and then give me from the breakup to now. Do you know how much cooler that would have been if we would have got 5 minutes of them training together and all that kind of stuff and seeing what that looked like? And yeah, once again, you got to, include Moxley. So be it. Include Moxley. We're including Moxley. And then you go 5 minutes on the Shield and everything they did together. And then incorporate the CM Punk conversation in with that. And how both of them have beef with CM Punk. Both of them don't like CM Punk, right? There was so much more they just could have done with that. And then those last 5 minutes on this week's show is everything that happened from that chair shot all the way to last year's WrestleMania. And then you build that. And that alone, we talked about how much we love the Brock and Oba the video packages. They could have did the same thing with the Shield, but they didn't do it.
I think they was just confused on how they was going to work it anyways, because for the first 1.5 video packages. They completely did everything they could to not show Dean Ambrose. And then the next time they showed him. So it's just like, I don't even think they even understood how this was going to even look. So again, one more week, it probably would have made it even worse. So now I see what you meant by it. Actually, can I make the grade less? I think I gave it a D. Can I give it an F now? Or did I already give it an F?
You can do whatever you want to do.
Fuck this. Fuck this. Just no.
As down as we are, it sounds like on SummerSlam, I'm actually still really excited. I am. So I think the show is still going to be really good. Like I said, I am not disappointed or upset. I'm actually really, really looking forward to it. Scale of 1 to 10, I'm on 10 for how excited I am to go to this show. So, yes, it should be very, very, very interesting. Before we get out of here, I got a few things from Redemption for sure. And I said, this is that show. So instead of me starting with some of the positives, I made a video where we talked a couple weeks ago. And this is when I said, Rhodesia, I figured it out. You said, what's that? I said, I figured out what WWE AEW NXT is. And I told you what it was, right? It was funny because that video got some reactions online. And one person said, I'm very confused on your description of AEW. What do you mean? And my description of correct. And my description of AEW was, I said, everybody who watches knows it's a work. There's times where the talent works it like it's a work, and whatever we're trying to get to by hook or crook, if it's a certain spot we're trying to get to, if it's flaming tables, if it's whatever, we're going to get to it no matter what. Rhodesia, Nick Jackson, I love you. But if you don't get the fuck out of here, these kind of things is the reason why I have the Young Bucks easily top 5 tag team of all time. Easily. That is a conversation we can have for another day, for sure. Because I can understand why you would put them there. But one of my things when I talk about like this thing that we all love called professional wrestling is there are still rules and regulations to professional wrestling. So say if you were only a hardcore wrestler, that's it. Say you never worked a match with rules before. You can never be a GOAT because I haven't seen you under the confines of professional wrestling rules. And that is what happens to me a lot of times when I watch AEW and even sometimes WWE, where we're outside the ring much longer than the 10 count. Well, like if you a GOAT, you got to figure out the right spot to get you back in the ring before 10 or to break that count or something, right? Within the rules of this thing, I need to see you do this. One of the rules is this shouldn't be looked as I can see what's happening next. If you can't get from point A to point B in your spot, you can't do the spot. That's when we need to sit down and think, okay, what makes sense? How can I get you on the other side of the ring for this to happen? And this clip has been going around, as it should. This clip right here of Nick Jackson going to the top rope and then hitting a 450 to then roll off to get in perfect position for another 450 to then immediately get up and continue to work. Well, you can't do that. You can't do that. But that is the perfect example of what I talk about when I said they gonna get to their shit however they get to their shit. If I know we want to do this spot, we're gonna do the spot, even if all sense of reality of this thing called professional wrestling is thrown out and we want to get to the spot, we get into the spot. So the person who asked me that question, there's your answer.
I don't think that clip was that bad. I mean, that spot was that bad. I get your point, and us looking at it under the microscope and scrutinizing it on that part of this or that episode.
Brother hit a 450, Rhodesia. Then he rolls in perfect position for him to take a 450, and then he gets up as if the move didn't hit him. to get to the next
spot. Because so much stuff is going on at one time, he's probably thinking nobody's actually seeing this. Like this,
Well,
I mean,
and there you
it
go. That's
is
the
a
problem.
lot of stuff
That's
that's
the
going
problem.
on. So that's why. So yeah, I don't think it's that bad. But to the essence of what you said, if it's on their whiteboard or in their mind, I'm gonna do this spot. We're gonna do the spot. Whatever it takes. We're gonna do the spot. I give them props for that, actually.
Of course you do.
Resilience. Actually, they moved up to number 2 on my tag team list. Fuck your rules, Matt. Fuck your rules.
Fuck kayfabe. That's great. Put that on a t-shirt. One of the things I thought about, so the show overall, Redemption, I thought it was a very solid show. I don't think it was one of their best pay-per-views. Definitely had some matches that were bangers. Oh boy, am I going to wax poetically. We don't have time for that. I don't want this show to be 5 hours. But if we had nothing else to talk about, I'm probably putting Kyle Fletcher over for 30 minutes. Okay, but we don't have that long. But before we get to that, I do have a question for you. So they had a ladder match. Take this off AEW. This is a general question for you when you watch professional wrestling. Does it take you out of the match when you see the referee holding the ladder in place for a wrestler to do a spot?
I would imagine if I was a new person watching wrestling, probably, but because I know that this is all predetermined, the number one thing that I will always have concern for is the concern of their health. So if that means that ladder, because they're going to do the spot, we just made it clear that they're going to do the spot, that if that means, and like you said, it doesn't matter what company, if that means they're going to be safe because they're going to be able to jump off or do whatever said move they plan on doing, I will encourage that because I know that this is not real as far as someone actually in a ladder match. So I today have no problem whatsoever with it. I think there's a way to be a little bit more discreet about it, sure. But like if I was a new person into watching wrestling, it would probably be a huge disconnect for me. Like if I didn't know that this was a work, I'd be like, what's up with that? And then that probably would then lead me on to the path of, oh, this is all predetermined. So you?
I was going back and forth on it because a few of the spots had refs hold the ladder, and it's plain as day. So to me, it does matter because that's where my eyes go to. Because I am still and you're right, top priority is safety, of course. But there's also a point for me of let's do this thing with the right smoke and mirrors. That's the beauty of pro wrestling.
Magic. Yeah.
Right? That's the beauty of pro wrestling. So when I see that, I'm just like, yo, man, if you couldn't figure out another way to do that spot, then we shouldn't do the spot. Right? Like, I don't doubt to a lesser extent, that'd be like, for me, perfect example would be Shane McMahon, Undertaker, WrestleMania Hell in a Cell, where Shane takes that crazy bump from the top of the Hell in a Cell onto the announce table. Now, it looked like, of course, there was a crash pad and what the stunt people fall on, it's like inflated, and when they hit it, and then it kind of goes down.
Yeah.
That's what was under the table. But imagine for me, because it's all about safety, of course, I don't expect you to really take that bump. But imagine if I saw them roll in that inflated thing before he takes the bump. And then I see it. And now it's a little bit different, of course, too, because I'm not talking about the person who's fallen from the top of the ladder onto whatever he's fallen, but it's still the magic of I shouldn't be seeing the referee hold the ladder. Because why is the referee holding the ladder? And what I'm watching, that takes me out of my element of the suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Now, if you got to do a spot where there's a wrestler at the bottom of that ladder who is just so tired he can't climb and he's holding on to it, do that. But to have the ref do it, But
okay,
it happens
so then
everywhere. Happens everywhere.
I'll deep dive it a little bit more. So if it's a situation where the ladder is now, the integrity of the ladder is now done, so it's kind of broken and flimsical, then for sure somebody needs to hold it. But I would probably then lead more toward then if that spot you can't achieve it because y'all moving too fast or whatever the reason is, that now you need the ref to hold the ladder. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't do this move. or whatever.
Well, I mean, the ref is holding it because to steady, right? Because they're doing they're doing the moves right on the top of that ladder, and you know how that can get. If anybody's ever been on the top of a ladder, or even close to the top of a ladder, it ain't the most steady.
Shaking like a leaf.
At
shaking
times,
like a leaf.
Right? Yep. So, I saw that. I wanted to get your opinion on it. But man, I'll tell you what I did love about the show, outside of Kyle Fletcher and Bandito, was that closing angle. Some great work from all parties involved. And I actually wrote it down earlier, and I've had this thought. So this is before the closing show angle with Moxley, with Ospreay, with Kenny. And I put Will isn't as hot as he should be heading into All In, and it's because of the Death Rider storyline. As entertaining as it's been at times. That was what I wrote way before the main event. And while he's not all of a sudden the hottest babyface in the territory coming to take over what's his in his home country, that final closing angle did a lot to bridge the gap of getting him where he needs to be by this time next month. I thought it was tremendous storytelling. AEW never really closes their shows. Sometimes they'll close their show on a reveal. Never really like this type of storytelling in ring after the main event. And I thought it was tremendous for a couple of different reasons why. The main event was Kenny and Kevin Knight. I think there's not a soul that thought Kevin Knight was going to win that match. And shout out to Kevin Knight. He handled himself very well. He really did. He looked like he belonged. He did a great job in that match with Kenny. Kenny's Kenny in the best possible way, so Kenny's going to take care of him. And I did even enjoy really kind of the story of Kenny treating him like, I respect you, but you ain't here yet. young man, you still got a ways to go. And even some of the spots he did spoke to that. But the final angle was Moxley wants Ospreay to put the bag over Kenny's head. And we're going to suffocate him the same way we did with Bryan Danielson. And Ospreay is fighting it. Ospreay is fighting it. Now he finally says, nope, I'm not doing it. Kenny wakes up after selling for about 5 minutes on the mat.
I swear.
Like, Kenny, yeah, you ain't been down that long ever. Selling
in life.
Down. And then Kenny puts two and two together that, hey, while I was out unconscious, it looked like you was going to use this bag on me. Will turns his back on Kenny. Kenny hits Will with a one-winged angel. Reason why this is so good is because, in essence, Moxley was right. So now Kenny, or not Kenny, but Will fucked over his friendship and his allegiance with the Death Riders just to be wrong about Kenny Omega in the end. Now, the reason why this was so tremendous, right before Kenny did that, Will said to him, and they shook hands, everything is good. From this point forward, it's just about you and I.
Yep.
So Kenny could just say, from perspective of, that was the warning shot. You said it's on now. Now it's on. Right? But the point was, Moxley was correct. Because as soon as you turned your back, you got hit. Thought it was great, man. I thought it was great.
I like that. I didn't get to quite watch the match. But now that you say it like that, that was a lot like the but Cody and Randy Orton Mania build. Now it's on. I'm going to be that Cody to beat you. And Orton is like, all right, fine, got you. But the timing was perfect. But at the end of the day, right, everybody will agree that Will wasn't as big as he probably should be at this time before All In. For sure. I think I don't think he would disagree with that. But in that moment when he had the bag in his hand, because I think it was a chair first. But then when he had the bag in his hand, I'm like, there's no way. Will is too beloved. Will is too, at his core, a good guy. He's just not going to do that. And it did bring me on an emotional roller coaster. and talking about that storytelling and ending your pay-per-view on a storytelling like that is kind of not common for them. So for me to be able to experience it and feel that, I'm like, yeah, there's no way Will can't do it. Will can't. Oh my God, is Will gonna do it? So that was really incredible. So then now you can still have an issue between Will and Jon Moxley if you want. And we know we got Will and Kenny Omega. And I do feel like without completely just ending and removing Will out of Death Riders, just like abruptly, like how Raquel won the championship abruptly from Soul, I feel like we now have then the opportunity to still have those relationships there or non-relationships there and still have Will being in a better, higher position than he was before going into that match. Or he was in
And now
match,
you have as of now,
that match.
And we'll see, of course, what they do Wednesday at Dynamite. We'll be in the building.
Yeah.
For it. There is a clear babyface in this story.
Yep.
Because of what Kenny just did. Mm-hmm. So now he is positioned. Yeah, he is positioned now as the babyface in this story. Yeah, maybe this isn't a full-blown, it probably is not a full-blown heel turn, of course, from Kenny Omega. But heading into Wembley, you know, this is the good guy in this story. And this may not be the bad guy, but he is the questionable guy. So I thought that was great, man. I thought that was great. Back to Kyle Fletcher and Bandito. They tore the house down. That was match of the year candidate for me. I think that's easily match of the year for AEW. Roman and Punk still hold a special place in my heart. So it's going to take something pretty big to be better than that for me personally, from bell to bell. But boy, Kyle Fletcher, I even asked you how long until he's a top guy for AEW, and you said
a year.
You said a year. Matt didn't watch the show. He had sent me a text about something else unrelated. And I was like, dude, I love you and all, but let me breathe, man. I'm watching Redemption. And he laughed, and I told him about the Kyle and Bandito match. And I asked him the same question. Hey, when do you think Kyle will be a top guy in AEW? And he said this time next year. I could see him main eventing All In. Kyle Fletcher, and this is going to sound crazy to people, but if you know, probably not. I think Kyle Fletcher could be a transformative main eventer for AEW. And what I mean by that is people who don't watch the product, I think would watch a Kyle Fletcher main event pay-per-view match and then get into a Kyle Fletcher main event program. He just has something. What Kyle Fletcher is, for me, when I watch him work, is the same feeling I got when I first started watching New Japan. Where you're like hard-hitting athleticism. I'm not getting this anywhere else. Every single time I watch Kyle work now, that's the feeling I get. And this is not discrediting Bandito. Of course, it takes two to tango. But this ain't the first time I kind of felt this way about Kyle. But what they did in that match was off the charts, even better than I expected. And I went into this thinking that would be one of the better matches on the show, and that superseded my expectations. But when he becomes a main eventer, I kid you not, I think he's going to be something really special for AEW.
He has the it. There's no doubt about it. I'm still working through what you just said. Do I see him like the face, like to rival, maybe not rival MJF, but to rival like the stardom of MJF? I don't know if I'm quite there yet, but he does have it all. I mean, when you think about it, and his character work is fantastic as well too. And in the wrestling and the hard strikes, he is a complete package. He really is, and he's still young, so he has a long, long way to go. But he is going to be a top guy there for sure. But I think we all agree MJF is the man there. He's a once in a lifetime or once in a generational talent.
I mean, he's a generational talent too, and they have a cast of characters right now in AEW.
They do, but
so I don't
know if he'll be bigger than MJF.
I'm talking, though, that energy he would bring and brings around being the top guy. That's an energy that has not been had yet in AEW since its existence.
So I would imagine probably like an Okada back in New Japan, if I'm not misspeaking here. Kind of like how I would feel about
you can look at it that way.
Okada.
You can look at it that way. You also could look at it like when CM Punk is at the top of a company, it just feels different. Not to say he is the top wrestler, right? But when he's champion, his storylines, of course, his segments, they feel different than when Roman's on top. When Roman's on top, feels completely different than when Cody Rhodes is on top. When Cody Rhodes is on top, feels different than when Seth Rollins is on top. That's what I'm saying when it comes to Kyle. I think he has an energy about him. I think the way his matches are is one that could really take over the imagination for a lot of wrestling fans. But I'm very high. I'm probably higher on him than I am anybody else right now in wrestling outside of Obafemi. Those are probably the two for me right now. But I thought that was tremendous. I have a question for you, and it is around Thekla.
Okay.
So Thekla went against Willow, and Willow beat Thekla for the World Championship. So it is going to be Willow versus Mercedes at All In. Thekla has been one of the highlights for AEW in 2026. She's done a great job with that title.
Great.
And they pull it off of her 30 days before your biggest show of the year. Should Thekla have a beef? And then my second question is, if you were Thekla, would you have a beef of doing that work and then dropping that title 30 days before All In?
Punch Tony in his face like she punched her other person, her last employer, in the face. Bitch!
Wow.
I think it's the intentions, though. In all fairness, I think it's, and when you first said it, I was getting worked up over here, but I also have to look at the big picture here and what we got as far as Willow winning the championship is amazing. Again, it's kind of, we talk about this all the time. It's not about the other people. We're talking about, in this moment, the superposition is Thekla. Thekla has done a phenomenal job as far as the champion. She's been kind of not missed for me when she's on TV. So I've really enjoyed her. If going into it, we knew that, hey, you're going to be, if Tony said, hey, Willow's out, the plans was for Willow, Mercedes at All In. In the meantime, we're going to give you this opportunity. Boom. Then, no, she has no beef at all. At all. Now, she could still say, hey, but when I got this opportunity, what did I do with it? Like, I shined super bright and I got completely over. But you really can't get too mad. And she really doesn't have a beef if going into it. Now, is it Tony's responsibility or obligation to tell her that? I don't know. But for me, Thekla should not have a beef with it because she had an opportunity, was given to her, and she did what she could do with it. Now let's see. Somebody else on top. Let's see what you could do. And that's the nature of the sport. All right, you got the opportunity. I got the ball. I'm going to run with it. Let's see what I can do with it. But yeah, it's almost like the MJF thing. Like, who is going in? Like, is he dropping? Because you've worked so damn hard, the business picked up drastically when you got back on top. And then like that whole issue there, the same way that I would felt with Thekla, like she really, really shined this year only to not be rewarded. It almost feel punitive almost, but.
I'm so happy for Willow. Boy, am I happy for her. She deserves it.
So happy.
I had an issue with how it came across though, because this is her first world title victory. It didn't come across like that. It didn't. It didn't feel rushed. It just didn't come across as grand as her first world championship should have been. So I kind of had a little bit of issue with that by whoever's fault that is. But I was thinking about the question I asked you, because when I saw that hand hit 3, I kind of like giggled to myself and I was like, oh boy, man. Because there is something to the respect of, you got us here, let's get you to cross that finish line. And that finish line for them is All In. Like, finish line is WrestleMania for WWE. And when I saw it, I'm like, okay, well, it depends on like when Tony told Thekla. Right? Like, once again, Tony's got the pin. He can do whatever the fuck he wants to do. He can turn all this shit upside down and get a belt to whoever, right? Tomorrow night on Dynamite, and you shut the fuck up and do what you're told. But once again, there's a respect thing that comes with professional wrestling. Like we talked about a couple weeks ago at certain venues. When you're in a certain venue, you know what you got to bring. Same thing kind of like when you're at the top of the card, there is some delicate and some respect that you use and you show with those performers. So when I saw it, I was like, oh man, I don't know. Like, damn, should Thekla be pissed off about it? Would I be pissed off about it? And I was like, maybe it's the timing of when Tony told her. But then I was like, or not. Right? Yeah, you did great work. We're flipping the title at Redemption. Right? And then in the story. Thank you for all the work you did. You know, you're not going anywhere, but we're going to go with Willow. So that was kind of my stance on that after the match immediately. Then I switched my stance because not that I thought that this was not in the plans, but for me, like I said, because how it felt with Willow, it kind of felt quick. Like, yo, like, okay. I mean, hey, Willow versus Mercedes is a much bigger match.
It is.
Than Thekla versus Mercedes at All In.
That's what I meant by bigger picture is what I meant. Yep.
But then I remembered something, Rhodesia, and I got excited. Willow was a person who beat Mercedes for the TBS championship that started her losing all those belts. When she lost that belt, I came on to the podcast and I said, 2026 needs to be the story of Mercedes has lost everything. And now how does she react? Right? Little by little, she drops this belt. Then she drops that belt. And now she just becomes this lunatic because she's only got 3 belts left. And everybody's after my belts. And what that kind of looks like. We never got anything to that and for that. Willow beats Mercedes again at All In. Mercedes can't beat Willow. And that should start Mercedes spiraling out of control. Because I did everything I did when I came back. I won the Owen, was undefeated. And at the biggest stage, in front of the biggest crowd all year at AEW, I failed to get the job done again against Willow. And maybe, just maybe, she doesn't get her shit back together until a friend from the past comes and gets her out of that funk. And that friend could be Bayley at the end of the year. Give me that story. Give me that story. You're not going to become the belt collector and then you lose all the belts and nothing came from it. It was like the storyline was dropped. Nah. Now, so if we get that, hell yeah, Thekla, sorry, love you to death. Get the fuck on. Yeah. You're not part of this. You aren't. Yeah, like, we'll get something else for you. Maybe you go against Maya World. God bless. But not this. But yeah, so I thought about that, I think like on Monday. Or I was watching, I think what it was I was watching the press conference. And I think it was stated that Willow beat Mercedes for the TBS champion. I was like, oh, shit. And of course, my mind started going. So, what'd you think about that?
I love it. I already did it. I did the put it in my veins. Put it right in my veins. Love that. And still, sorry to that woman. You did a fantastic job. But it was almost like how I felt about with Sami getting into WrestleMania. It was at the expense of Carmelo, but those are two totally different things. I'm so happy that Willow won her first world championship. You're right, as far as it didn't feel as grand as it should have been. But hey, I guess if you're about to get crowned again when you beat Mercedes, if we're going off of what you're saying, then that's going to be big enough there and they'll make up for it. And Willow was hurt and she did whatever she could do to get back. Man, she deserves it too. I mean, Willow's had an incredible year too. But for Thekla, you did a fantastic job with the championship. I hope that you continue to hold gold in the future. And again, it'll just be in another way.
Yep. And I think last thing, like my biggest takeaway from Redemption was Chris Jericho. So I was ready to come on here and just shit on him. I'm like, he come out here, the entrance, I'm like, yo, this is so goofy and not realistic. And I was ready. And then the match starts and I'm like, how can I get into like a hardcore Chris Jericho match in 2026? And then he still showed he's Chris Jericho. They had comedy spots in it, and it worked perfectly. It worked perfectly because we went to the comedy before we got to the blood. So it made the blood mean even more. So shout out to Tommaso Ciampa and Chris Jericho. They put together an entertaining match. It was done right. And then I went back to shitting on him again because I'm like, he looks like a fucking joke.
And when he got the drill at the end and put it on his tongue, I was like, oh, okay, got it. So the drill isn't real then.
And I hate it. Well,
as it's on his tongue is drilling, and you hear the noise, but it's on his tongue.
I hated that. I hated that spot. I hated the drill spot. We're bringing power drills now into professional wrestling.
Yeah, that's
the reason why I hate that spot is because it is feasible for you to actually use that fork and stab me in the forehead with it. Absolutely. It is feasible for those thumbtacks and that piece of glass to hit my back and get stuck in my back or my leg, right, or my hand. It is not feasible that a power drill is being used to your scalp and you're not, like, going to emergency room.
Exactly.
I did not like that at all.
Only to then at the end of the match, put it on your tongue as it's on, and I got to go back to that visual. It's on his tongue, and he has it on. Okay.
Yep. It's just like you're Chris Jericho. Like, you're not, nobody's scared of you. I get the Painmaker. That's your gimmick. I get that. But that's why I was like, dude, he looks so goofy and looks like a joke. But it was a really well-worked match. And then my last thing was they announced Copen, Christian versus the Young Bucks. I thought we saw that match already. Then I thought it was the triple threat with FTR. So I was like, okay, so we haven't gotten a one-on-one match. I personally don't think that's big enough for All In. I don't know when the New Day's contract is up because I think that's a layup and make that a triple threat match. I did think we were getting some type of TLC match. But they got to do something. I think they got to do something to make that match as big as what it should be. But yeah, I didn't like get a feeling when they showed on the Trine, when they showed like the match graphic. I was like, okay, what's next? What else? Like, what else are we doing with this match? But I could be wrong. I could be in the minority. That was just how I felt.
I think it's one of those moments like when you just see it on a card that's going to be a fun match. But I felt you too when I first saw that. When I was watching, I didn't get the goosies in my stomach from it either. And if they already had a singles tag team match already, or if it was a triple way, or it doesn't matter because what we feel is like, oh, this doesn't feel brand new. So that's what it really comes down to. What is it? How do we feel about it? But I think when we get to All In, it's going to be much different. But yeah, right now it's like, okay, we've seen it. Maybe because we expect it. So.
We've seen it, and we did it, baby. I think longest episode in TFW pod history right here.
Golly.
But it should have been. We had a lot to talk about. So everybody, hopefully they enjoy that episode because this was that. Last week was this. This is that for sure. But y'all know the deal, man. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Keep supporting the pod. Keep rocking out. We'll keep giving y'all this excellent content. As I said, we'll be on the road on Thursday, going to see Dynamite on Wednesday, Spider-Man on Thursday, and then road trip Friday morning to Minnesota for 2 nights, and then heading back on Monday. So, of course, you guys will see us and hear from us a couple times over the next few days. So stay locked on YouTube. Stay locked to your audio podcast platforms. Stay locked to the TFW podcast. Love you guys. We are out. Talk to you soon.